Part 183. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1824. Upon hearing this sound, even though several starry sky-level soldiers were extremely afraid of the female creature in front of them who was destined to be weak, they couldn't help it. To them, Jia Yan is the absolute god of the Orion arm. His strength, conduct, and great heart are all things that everyone thinks should not be offended. At this time, they were slandered by this woman. For them, the emotional impulse was unbearable for a while. So among these soldiers, the creature that had reached the pinnacle of the starry sky looked a little annoyed and spoke instantly. "Your Excellency, our Excellency Mr. Jia Yan, Orion Arm, is such a noble person. It is absolutely impossible for you to meet him whenever you want." "Oh, I want to see him, but I still can't." The woman didn't seem to care about this group of tiny creatures. Maybe it was because she was broad-minded, or maybe she didn't even have the slightest thought of getting angry at the group of weak people in front of her. The existence of two kinds of life was incompatible. Is there any need for the same creature to be angry? Of course, even if you kill us, you won't be able to see him. The creature at the top of the starry sky answered this female creature. At the same time, several starry sky-level creatures all made alert movements. After all, they are not people waiting to die. Even if this woman is 100 times more powerful than them, they will fight with all their lives to make the other party feel their fighting spirit. They are warriors, not wimpy weaklings. Haha, do you think of him like this? Jia Yan didn't seem to be so grand back then. Well, forget it if you don't want to. I'll go find him inside your Orion arm myself. Hee, you can also put this past the news to him and see if he can guess who I am. The woman laughed, and then she flew far away and left quickly. She did not choose to kill the group of Orion arm soldiers in front of her, at least this expressed a certain attitude. She's gone. Great, we don't have to die. But what she said is really a bit weird. Could it be that she is actually an old acquaintance of Lord Jia Yan? And judging from her attitude, it seems that she knew Lord Jia Yan when he was not strong enough. Whatever, the giant mosquito ancestor improves very quickly. Even if he is an old friend from back then, it is normal for him to be far behind in terms of strength. Or it should be said that it is precisely because she is an ancestor. We know each other, she shouldn't be that strong. Several soldiers talked a lot. They also sent a signal to the students in front to wait, and they immediately drove the warship over to pick up the escaping students. Of course, at the same time, news about this woman's arrival quickly spread throughout the entire intelligence system. Even for most senior officials, the appearance of this woman cannot determine her strength. After all, even a venerable level person can deal with a group of starry sky level soldiers. Even if the pretender looks very powerful, in the end it shouldn't be as strong as a star, right? For the current strength of the Orion arm, a star level, at least an ordinary star level, is no longer a big problem. After all, this is a star field that can defeat more than a dozen galactic levels, but they have to retreat. The feeling of power has been completely established in their own people and the surrounding star field. However, out of consideration for the situation, the rigorous intelligence system still passed her information to Jia Yan, who was far away in the subspace. "Oh, a woman is looking for me, and she says she is an old acquaintance." When Jia Yan received the signal, he was practicing his own meteorite explosives. He felt a little weird at the time. After all, he didn't know many female creatures, and as others said, the creatures he knew back then were all relatively weak, at least to him now. He is a weakling who should be kept far away from his head, but he actually came to find him. Not to mention the tone is so loud. Look at the video record. There will be recorded images inside every battleship. When they decided to convey the woman's signal to Jia Yan, the image was transmitted to Jia Yan. When Jia Yan opened the image and took a look, he suddenly felt a little weird. It's not that he knew her, but he had no impression at all, not to mention that he could tell at a glance that the woman looked like a human being. The other person is not an earthling, not even a normal creature. Is this a clone? And it's very similar to people on Earth. If she didn't deliberately expose the details in the video and let me know, I might not even be able to recognize that she is a clone. Jia Yan suddenly became more solemn. There are not many creatures in the universe that can hide from him now. At least for Jia Yan, it is generally difficult to hide from him. But this female creature was able to hide it from him. Even at the end of the video shooting, when she was about to leave, the woman looked nonchalant and glanced at the camera on the battleship with a smile. This glance made Jia Yan feel as if he had been struck by lightning, and he was almost frightened. What does this mean? I can't bear the sight of such a clone. He was simply horrified. You must know that now he is an evolved beast that has reached the galaxy level. His combat power cannot be said to be able to fight with a creature that has reached the intermediate galaxy level, but at least he is confident that under the hands of an intermediate galaxy level creature save your life. But just like this, he was actually cloned by an unknown female creature, and he almost felt horrified just by looking at it. Who is she? She says she is my old friend. Jia Yan thought carefully, and then a voice and long-lasting memories flew out of my mind instantly. Is her? Jia Yan suddenly became a little nervous when he thought of the owner of this figure. The person he was thinking of was the Zerg Queen who possessed him, followed him for a long time, and helped him once in the Starry Sky battle. Is it her? No wonder, the aura is so similar, and although it is a clone, it is different from my clone. This clone is likely to have reached the galaxy level. Even the trace of aura she possessed on me back then, just like the aura I left for Wronger back then, it was completely above the galaxy level. It's no wonder that those strong men back then almost died after sensing her aura. When Jia Yan remembered that person's name, not only did he not resolve his tension, but he became even more nervous. There is no other reason, because in recent years, Jia Yan, who has reached the star activity level, after investigating the information about the Zerg Queen, he suddenly discovered many truths that made Jia Yan breathless. This Queen of the Zerg is terrifyingly powerful, and the strength of the star field under her command cannot be underestimated. Her strength is that of a domain master. And it was definitely not an ordinary domain lord. Back then, there were several territory lord level beings who besieged the Zerg Queen. The scene was almost the same as the former galaxy level evolved beast in Orion's arms. But the result was completely different. The Queen of the Zerg, who enjoyed almost the same treatment as the predecessors of the evolved beasts, actually defeated the enemy with 1-4, and then, extremely horrifyingly, annexed the territory of the 4 domain lords, which was as far away as 5,000. A large star field many light years away is all under his control. And so far, no one dares to provoke this Zerg Queen. In other words, her strength may be more terrifying than any of the predecessors of Evolution Beast, a well-known genius race, and her talent may even be stronger, because her development speed and strength improvement speed are also terrifying to the extreme. Even Jia Yan none can be compared to it. When she found me, it was not long after she killed the 4 major domain lords. If calculated according to Earth years, her age at that time was more than 100 years old. I was thinking that I was more than 100 years old. At that time, it may not be possible to reach the territory lord level, let alone kill the 4 territory lord enemies in one go. Jia Yan's heart became solemn. He has always regarded the Zerg Queen as a dream. After all, being so weak and being targeted by such a terrifying existence was something Jia Yan was very reluctant to see. Yes, this will make him feel like everything is under the control of a master. But now, this dream has become a reality after he made the galaxy. She actually came to the door in person. Oh no, a clone came to the door. But through simple judgment, you can know that this clone is a clone that has reached the galaxy level, and it is such a terrifying territory lord level clone that Jia Yan doubts whether he can defeat it if they really want to fight. But come on, come on. It's not okay for me to pretend that I have never interacted with her. After all, we have interacted with each other, and she said some incomprehensible things back then. Now that she comes here to find me, at least I will know. What did she want to say? What's more, I'm not as bad as I thought. Even if she is more terrifying than those senior evolutionary beasts back then, I'm not bad either. Moreover, I have Yin and Yang Dao, which is stronger in the later stages. When I advance to the mid-level galaxy, then even if I can't fight a territory lord, I can still escape with my subspace talent. Even if she is able to defeat the 4 territory lords, I don't have to be weak. The more he thought about it, the more determined Jia Yan became. He is a person who has experienced many battles and even experienced countless desperate situations. What is wrong with his mentality? After Jia Yan figured this out, he decided to take the initiative himself. Oh, didn't you send out your clones to find me? Well, I'll send out my clones to find you too. Even if you laugh at my cowardice, this is a necessary precaution and I won't be affected by ridicule. When Jia Yan thought about this, he became calm. He has put aside the matter of refining meteorites. After all, a group of galaxy beginners, plus an intermediate galaxy creature, their threat is much worse than a territory lord, or an extremely terrifying territory lord. Grade. What's more, Jia Yan has already defeated them once. It's not known when these enemies will be dispatched in the future. The Zerg Queen has already come to the door. Of course, it is more important to solve this imminent hidden danger first. Above the Interstellar, there is a small blue planet. This is Earth. It is not unreasonable to say that the Earth is small. When the Earthlings and the Earthlings of the Earth Alliance came into contact with other interstellar forces and civilizations in the Orion Arm, they all discovered that the Earth, which was praised as mother by the Earthlings and had always been considered very big, to other civilizations in Orion's arms, it is just a small planet. But on this planet, Earthlings were born, and a local strongman of Earthlings was extremely proud of Jia Yan. Of course, many people remain a little doubtful about whether Jia Yan is a human from Earth. But at least they knew that Earthlings had been saved countless times because of Jia Yan, who was suspected of being Earthling. Even the Earthlings' otherworldly status within the Orion Arm was inseparable from this Jia Yan. On this day, countless people on Earth once again witnessed something that was a bit like a miracle. That is, on the Earth, a shadow as fast as lightning flashed out from the city of Return, and then shot into the subspace, just like a shadow. But because of the advancement of technology, or perhaps this being deliberately let people discover him, his fleeting scene was captured by countless ultra-high-speed cameras on Earth. It's Master Jia Yan. Haha, Lord Jia Yan has appeared again, and he is still so young. So handsome. I want to marry Mr. Jia Yan. Are you stupid? There is so much difference in strength between him and you. You are getting married. Even if you want to marry, I will marry you. I already have high-level strength at the prefectural level. I am 19 years old. He will definitely love me. Ha ha ha, you girls are really crazy, right? With such status as Mr. Jia Yan, how could he possibly fall in love with you little girls? Don't you know that his sons are all eldest? You, don't disturb us girls talking. What's more, even if our son is older, Master Jia Yan will live a long life. We just need to be passers-by in his life. It's so sad to think about it. Hopeless. On Earth, discovering Jia Yan is like discovering a miracle, because the probability of Jia Yan appearing has been getting lower and lower in recent years. It is extremely slim for everyone to see Jia Yan. There are even some alien beings who spend a lot of money to find a house on Earth just because they want to see Jia Yan, even if it is just a fleeting moment, and they wait for years or even decades. Now, it's time for the carnival, and Jia Yan actually appears again. Although he disappeared in an instant, the surprises and even wealth he brought to the people on Earth were extremely amazing. Inside the subspace, Jia Yan's clone was a little helpless. These Earthlings and other alien creatures who are joining in the fun feel very speechless. It makes me feel sorry for them if my clone doesn't show up on time. Jia Yan was extremely helpless, but the corners of his mouth were raised. Read the latest chapters of Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito Claw Machine bookstore for free as soon as possible. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1825. It's been a long time since he fully experienced this Earthling avatar. For Jia Yan, it is still very meaningful to regain a little bit of the feeling of being a local Earthling. But his clone didn't come here for fun, but came to find someone. Buzz buzz. Inside the subspace, there are constant explosions and the existence of huge swallowing black shadows. The twisted black color has little effect on the real body, but it has a big impact on the clone. Fortunately, Jia Yan is already familiar with the method of using clones to move in subspace, and he can quickly move between distortions, while his body is still moving forward quickly. In fact, Jia Yan's method of using avatars to find people is not just a simple flight to find people. After all, the clone is not the real body, and it is completely impossible to compare with a warship in subspace speed. Moreover, even if it is the real body, the speed in deep subspace is still far behind the fastest technological warship. His main purpose of flying out was to cover up other people's eyes and prevent other creatures in Orion's arms from knowing that he was looking for the female creature that suddenly came into Orion's arms. This is to avoid risks, and the other party may not be friendly. If a fight starts, his clone will definitely not be able to protect the Orion arm battleship that follows him. Of course, it is possible not to fight. It is absolutely impossible for Jia Yan to start a war with a Zerg Queen who has reached the level of a domain lord and is even much stronger than ordinary domain lords. Even if it is just one of her clones, this will definitely make Jia Yan suffer a lot big hit. The other party did not hide his figure, so Jia Yan walked all the way and followed the starry sky road to find the other party easily. In fact, the speed of the avatar of the Zerg Queen was not extremely fast. She did not hide her path, flying from the starry sky inside the Orion arm to the direction of the Earth. This is called being confident. Her strength and identity are enough for her to not have to worry about anyone in a star field like the Orion arm where she has already become famous. This is the benefit of being strong. Although Jia Yan lamented the opponent's strength, he also felt that this behavior was quite a slap in the face. But even if it was a slap in the face, there was nothing he could do. After all, the gap between him and the Zerg Queen was really too big. Why does this Zerg Queen come to me? Jia Yan felt that the Zerg Queen probably did not come to fight with him, because there was no need for it. If she wanted to do it, she could have easily started killing Jia Yan back then, so why wait until now? In other words, she is like the other beings who came to trouble me. She is preparing to refine me into some kind of medicine to enhance her own strength. That's not right. If that's the case, with her at that level, she should at least wait until I become stronger, or simply reach the level of Territory Lord, before attacking her, otherwise my effects will not give her any room to increase her strength. Jia Yan did not belittle himself excessively, but he definitely recognized himself clearly enough. At the galaxy level, the division of everyone's strength and status is still very clear. Creatures that have reached the Domain Lord level are just like those of the past. There is so much difference between the Venerable level and the Star level that Jia Yan doesn't even think that his Tang monk flesh can have any effect on making a powerful Territory Lord. So this Zerg Queen must have something in mind when she comes to find herself now. Jia Yan even thought about the time when the other party's energy attached to his body, helped him once, said some disappointing words, and then completely disappeared from his life. Jia Yan has always been curious about this matter, what is going on, but until now, he doesn't know what the internal reason is. But now that the Zerg Queen has reappeared, it is probably time to reveal the inner cause. In the starry sky, a dark brilliance flashed across the stars. Inside the brilliance is a beautiful woman who looks very similar to an Earthling woman in her early 20s. But anyone who knows her true face will never believe that this beauty is actually a peerless powerful person 5 or 6,000 light years away, and the queen of a powerful race called the Zerg. This Orion arm is different from the rumors outside. It is not powerful at all. When I heard the rumors here, I was shocked. I thought that the barren land I came to back then would become so much stronger in the blink of an eye. But now when I came back to see it, there weren't many changes. It was just that they practiced something called yin-yang dao, and as for the strong ones, they either obtained it from the captured star field biochemical star field, or from outside stars. A strong man who belongs to the domain. After looking around this beauty-like creature, she realized that the Orion arm, the rising star field that the outside world was rumored to be talking about now, was actually strong on the outside but weak on the inside, and had no strength to match its super reputation. Of course, it is said that it is not strong, but in fact it is not bad. What's more, with the yin and yang dao, the strong men in Orion's arms can be equivalent to a higher level existence after a few people join forces. This is a bit tricky and quite suddenly there are many masters in Orion's arms. The strength is indeed very similar to the feeling I had when I left a clone in the Orion arm. Haha, I was a bit naive back then. I wanted to be here. She was just muttering something to herself when she suddenly noticed something strange appearing in the starry sky. Then she stopped moving forward and stayed within the Interstellar, silently waiting for something. Not long after, a quick burst of light came from the interstellar world. Inside this ray of light, there is a shadow similar to that of a young man from Earth, which seems to match the opponent. Both parties use bodies that look like clones of Earthlings. Oh, are you here? The beauty smiled faintly. The young man on the opposite side obviously knew that this beautiful woman was here, so he increased his speed again, and at the same time, he entered the subspace, and then in another flash, he was directly opposite the woman. The two sides are less than 20 meters apart. This distance, let alone a galaxy-level powerhouse, even a heaven-level powerhouse, is as if there is no distance at all. It is very close. But neither side launched an attack. The young man is naturally a clone with Jia Yan's appearance. Hello, Your Excellency, we meet again. A male voice came out of Jia Yan's mouth, and along with the power of his brainwaves, it rippled in the starry sky. The other party silently looked at Jia Yan's clone and saw that this clone only had half star power. However, under Jia Yan's control, the clone felt very solid and showed no signs of instability. This shows that Jia Yan can use this clone to carry out many powerful attacks. She has even mastered the information before. One of Jia Yan's clones can kill a galaxy-level person, even if the clone himself falls into the same fate. But this is enough to illustrate the strength of Jia Yan's clone. Hello, Jia Yan. It must have been 50 or 60 years ago. Unexpectedly, you are a bit beyond my expectation. Your strength has developed very quickly. After the other party glanced at Jia Yan's clone, he didn't show the slightest fear. This is because his own strength is too terrifying, so he no longer cares about some small means or attack tricks. Just like the trump card of Earth-level experts is just an ordinary attack method to the strong men of heaven level, the killer trump card of galaxy level is nothing to the existence of the domain lord. Maybe every time they send out for the galaxy level powerhouses, the attacks are comparable to their trump cards, but the territory lord is just a normal attack. This is the difference between the two. Well, it has been a long time, and even my current strength is still far behind for your excellency. Your Majesty the Queen, I already know your identity roughly, but I didn't know that this time you would use your noble body to reach my Orion arm. Come on, what are you doing? Jia Yan nodded, not feeling ecstatic about the other party's words, nor did he think that he was weaker than the other party, and his attitude was very correct. Neither humble nor arrogant, this is the philosophy he has adhered to all the way up to the present. Jia Yan, I came to your Orion arm for no other reason, and I don't have any bad thoughts towards you. Why don't we go to the planet over there to talk? The beauty pointed at a planet not far away. Of course, it was not far away, but this dead planet with no resources was still millions of kilometers away from them. But to the two powerful men, millions of kilometers are as close as one step for people on Earth. Jia Yan nodded. Who? Not long after, the two of them were like a ray of light, flying lightly to the planet. They don't need to breathe. Both sides are extremely terrifying starry sky creatures, which are naturally beyond the scope of ordinary life. While Jia Yan was falling, his brainwave power came into use. Puff puff. There is actually an atmosphere on that planet, and there is air inside, but the air is poisonous. It is absolutely impossible for people on Earth to survive here. At this time, when his brainwave power was used, extremely terrifying destruction occurred on the planet. A large mountain peak was silently cut in half by the power of brainwaves, and then the inside itself was quickly cut again. Time passed quickly as they landed. In only 10 seconds, this large mountain peak seemed to suddenly become a castle made of stone. Everything inside seems to have been polished by skilled craftsmen and is very delicate. However, no one may want to believe that this kind of thing that should be made by a skilled craftsman can only be made in a dozen seconds by a strong man like Jia Yan. You're very handy. The clone of the Zerg Queen nodded lightly, seemingly not shocked or surprised by Jia Yan's fine control. Maybe an ordinary galaxy-level being would marvel at Jia Yan's amazing control over this clone, but to her, this seems to be a normal thing. As mentioned before, the height you stand determines how you see things. Jia Yan looked at the opponent silently, knowing in his heart that there was a huge difference in strength between the two sides and that the opponent was not alarmed at all, so he couldn't help but sigh, and then continued to fly down without being discouraged. The strength of the two sides, at least in this aspect, is still very different. Jia Yan silently followed the opponent's clone and entered the mountain stone castle. Come, please take a seat, Queen. Jia Yan walked with the other party to the center of the huge hall of the castle, where there was a row of magnificent tables and chairs. The entire castle is 500 to 600 meters long and more than 100 meters high. The huge table and chairs in the center are also very long. The two sides are sitting apart from each other. For an Earthling, it is impossible to see the face of the person opposite. But for the strong, this is just right. At least Jia Yan sat on one side and the Zerg Queen on the other side had a look of satisfaction on her face. Luxurious things, or things that are beautiful on the surface and have a sense of ritual, even if they reach the level of the strong or even the extremely terrifying strong, they will still pursue them. After all, everyone is just pursuing a better life, even for the super strong. The horror beings are still no different. Jia Yan, don't you think we should have some more wine and food? Or some servants, etc. It's actually a bit rude for you, the master, to talk like this between the two of us. The other party seemed to finally take Jia Yan seriously, and at least he was willing to joke. Your Majesty the Queen, I was embarrassed. Where did I find food and servants for a while? Then I'll do it. The Queen smiled. Then, in Jia Yan's surprise, she stretched out a white palm and grabbed it into the void. Bang! Hundreds of kilometers away from the two of them, there was a volcano on this planet. When the Queen was grabbed out, the volcano exploded. The explosion was so terrifying that it almost burst the sky. If left alone, this volcano would at least for a while, the planet will be plunged into the terrifying scene of the world's largest volcanic eruption, and volcanic ash will cover the sky for a long time. But at the moment when this explosion was born, the exploding material was instantly grabbed by something like an invisible big hand. Then, all the explosive materials flew up one after another and merged into the grasp of this big hand. Furthermore, the agglomerated object fermented at high temperature, almost reaching an unimaginably terrifying temperature. Not long after, various substances continued to fly up from the surrounding ground and merged into this high-temperature object. Various substances are born through chaotic combinations. During the whole process, Jia Yan had a confused face. In fact, he probably guessed what the other party was doing, but even if he guessed it, Jia Yan still looked in disbelief. Because this kind of thing is almost a miracle to him. Horrible. As expected by Jia Yan, when the volcanic explosive materials he sensed combined with the sand and stones on the ground, as well as many condensates of various substances, the interior of the invisible mountain, which had exhausted almost all the power of the volcanic eruption, began to boil. After finishing, various objects flew out from it. These are plates of dishes. They were served on a plate that was cooked to perfection and looked like diamonds. Moreover, the style of the dishes is very similar to some common dishes on Earth, such as chicken, red wine, green vegetables, tomatoes, and so on. Read the latest chapters of Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito Claw Machine bookstore for free as soon as possible. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1826. Even after the objects flew out one after another, there was another earth-shattering roar. 30 or 40 objects covered in flames, like flaming men, actually crawled out of the roaring crater. They staggered, crawling on fire, and the surface of their bodies solidified, then turned into rock-like creatures, flying outside the castle where Jia Yan and the others were. Moreover, these flame men picked up the flying pots, pans, dishes, etc., and they all held them upright and walked into the castle. Jia Yan was completely shocked by the scene before him. He turned around and stared at the beautiful earthling woman opposite him, almost completely speechless. Because the terrifying ability displayed by the other party has exceeded Jia Yan's imagination. It doesn't matter if you create dishes with bare hands. You just change the material layout of the volcano and the ground. If you change the atomic level, it is not impossible to create other objects. But creating a kind of life is a bit unacceptable to Jia Yan. Isn't this a god? Haha, you don't have to be surprised. They are not real life, just like the computers on your Earth. I just wrote certain programs into their minds. Although this kind of creatures can survive for a long time, there is no possibility of becoming a race. The woman opposite didn't seem to be surprised by Jia Yan's shock, because when she did this, almost no one would not be shocked. Dear Master, Sir, your dishes are here. Several flaming stone men walked to the castle where the two of them were, then picked up the dishes and put them on the table. In fact, Jia Yan was a little too shocked and didn't know how to speak to the other party. Just now, he used his clone to control the rocks to create a majestic castle. In fact, it was the limit of what he could create with this mere clone. He could create dishes by waving his hand to the other person, and then there was a kind of lifelike servant. Compared with the scene, it is still very different. This was a blow to Jia Yan. In other words, his creativity is much worse than that of the other party. Even if Jia Yan was pointed out by the queen and revealed that the creatures she created were actually just programs, it would still be extremely difficult for Jia Yan to be able to create such terrifying creatures in such a short period of time. Things to imagine. Okay, let's chat. The Zerg queen took a light bite of the dishes that were served. In fact, these things were all her favorite flavors, and of course they were delicious. Jia Yan also tentatively tasted this so-called dish. In fact, if he hadn't watched them make it from the flames, Jia Yan would have thought that it should be a peerless delicacy rather than something created. Huh? There is actually such a huge power here. Jia Yan took a bite and felt a certain burst of energy in his clone, which showed that the energy contained in it was too terrifying to imagine. After this scene, Jia Yan has clearly understood that there is a huge difference in strength between himself and the Zerg Queen. Just now he was thinking that even if the Zerg Queen came in person, his true body would be able to escape, but now at first glance, even if the Zerg Queen's clone is in front of her, it's a matter of two people whether her real body can beat her. After all, the methods of the two sides are very different. The other party has the combat experience and ability of a domain lord. Even if he only has the strength of the first level of galaxy, Jia Yan is also the first level of galaxy. When it comes to means, his yin and yang dao is quite good. Miraculous, but the other party is not bad at all, it should even be said to be more mysterious. Your Majesty the Queen, I originally thought I should hold you accountable for the matter of you possessing me, but at the last moment you took the initiative to leave and help me once, so I think we both owe each other nothing. No, I know you are here, Orion Arm, what do I do for you? Jia Yan ate 2 pieces of food, took another sip of wine that would probably kill a powerful person from the energy explosion after drinking it, then put down the wine glass and asked. The other party still took a sip of wine, but then did not answer directly. She took another bite of the dishes on the table, then raised her head lightly and looked at Jia Yan's clone. To be honest, I once asked one of my expeditionary troops to help the fringe forces in the biochemical star field to participate in attacking your Orion Arm. It was just a whim and fun. But regarding this matter, I now want to treat you, the titular lord of the Orion Arm. I apologize. No need, we didn't know each other at first. Besides, I was not a strong person at that time. In the universe, the fittest survive. There is no such thing as apologizing. Jia Yan waved his hand. In fact, it was not the Earth people who were attacked at that time, and other Orion Arm civilizations did not take refuge in him at that time, so he naturally didn't care. In other words, without the war at that time, he would not have been able to reach the level he is today. In other words, the other party helped him. Oh, well, let me tell you why I came here this time. The Queen saw that Jia Yan had no intention of pursuing her, and she was not surprised, because it was inevitable. Even if Jia Yan wanted to pursue the case, she would not give him any face. Could it be that she would bear the responsibility if Jia Yan pursued it? Liability compensation? For the already all-powerful Zerg Queen, this was simply impossible. Speaking. Actually, I used my energy at that time to dispatch combat teams everywhere in the nearby starry sky. I didn't think too much about it. It was just because I was besieged by the 4 domain lords. After the battle, I was young and energetic, so I sent a team to travel in the nearby starry sky to see if there is any force or star field that still wants to attack me. To put it bluntly, it's just some kind of sightseeing tour. But the legend of your Orion Arm makes me a little curious. For us people there, not to mention your Orion Arm, even the entire surrounding star field is a bit rural, you know. Which literally means that the civilization, powerful people, and technology here are all lagging behind ours, so when I first heard about your Orion Arm, I thought it was a bit interesting, and then I sent a team to come. When we arrived at your Orion Arm, I happened to have a trace of energy in one of my subordinates, so I stopped by to observe. The Zerg Queen recalled things from ancient times, because to her, she was not very old, and recalling the past decades ago seemed like a long time ago. But for the surrounding star fields or the strong people, the relatively mysterious Orion Arm, in our eyes, is just a means arranged by the Death Territory Lord. Although that Lord is indeed powerful, maybe if he is still alive, I can only be slightly better than him, but he has been dead for hundreds of thousands of years, so after letting the combat troops play some war games with you here, I got a little bored and just wanted to watch you. What does the legendary evolutionary beast race look like in this Orion arm? And then, you showed up. Faced with the words of the Zerg Queen, Jia Yan was startled and then smiled bitterly. For other strong men and stars, Senior Tianji's arrangement is extremely difficult to crack. Of course, he also knows that for the Galaxy class, this method seems a little immature, especially after hundreds of thousands of years. A little bit, but when it was said in the mouth of the Zerg Queen, it seemed very useless, which made Jia Yan feel bitter. However, the other party was not talking big words, but simply stating the facts. Moreover, she also said that if Senior Tianji was still alive, he would still give her a little less. Although Jia Yan had already vaguely guessed something, the fact was still in front of his eyes, but it was still a bit difficult for Jia Yan to accept. Because Senior Tianji is probably the most powerful among the evolutionary beast seniors in the past. If he is like this, then doesn't it mean that the Zerg Queen may completely surpass the evolved beast clan that he is proud of? This is a bit too much of a shock. Haha, Jia Yan, don't be too accepting. I believe you have understood that in the Milky Way, you evolution beasts are not just a race with extraordinary talents. There may even be people in the center of the Milky Way that are even better than me. But he is a super talented person. Even if you have relatively little information about these things, you must know something about them. Facing the Queen's question, Jia Yan nodded, yes, I have known about it for a long time, but I have never seen an existence better than our evolved beasts. Now when I see you at first glance, I am still a little bit shocked. The Zerg Queen is not very old, of course she is older than Jia Yan. While he said these words, some thought was born in his heart. Since the previous evolved beast seniors cannot compare with each other, let him create a new evolved beast myth. Thinking of this, Jia Yan's originally a little uncomfortable mood became a little calmer. Jia Yan, I saw the fighting spirit in your eyes. Haha, it was your fighting spirit that attracted me back then. Then I quietly left a certain amount of strength on you and watched you silently. It's a pity that you were a little disappointed with the future development, because your performance at that time was much worse than I imagined for the evolved beast clan. Jia Yan nodded, and her heart moved. Could it be that she was disappointed? After the battle on the Grey Star, she watched Jia Yan arrive at the Northern Star territory, and finally left Jia Yan's body. It was because of Jia Yan no longer attracted to her? That's not bad, Jia Yan doesn't like the feeling of being peeked at. It's just that the reason why the other party left was made plain at first. Jia Yan made her a little disappointed. Now that she thought about it, since she would come to him, it must be because Jia Yan's development exceeded her expectations and she slapped herself in the face. Yes. As expected, the Zerg Queen continued to speak and showed a sigh of relief to Jia Yan. Maybe I was a little blind at the beginning. You actually showed even more powerful talents after I left, and you even jumped up and killed enemies all the way. This is also something that I didn't expect, although it hasn't happened yet. It has reached a level that I am satisfied with, but I still feel the need to meet with you and talk about why I wanted to see the original intention of the evolved beast clan. Original intention? Jia Yan was startled for a moment, and then he felt relieved. If the original queen of the Zerg had not had other ideas, she would never have followed a weakling like Jia Yan who didn't even have a starry sky level. But now, this intention was about to be revealed, and Jia Yan was still looking forward to what she would say. After all, the other party is a domain lord level strongman, even a relatively powerful being among domain lords. For Jia Yan, even such a being would be interested in something, and Jia Yan is even more looking forward to what the content is. Of course, if there is any danger, Jia Yan can completely refuse it, even if the opponent is a domain lord level existence. As long as Jia Yan uses his subspace talent to escape before the opponent gets close, he must be considered a domain lord. You won't be stupid and play hide and seek with yourself in the starry sky, right? What's more, according to Jia Yan, the Queen of the Zerg has a very high self-esteem and will never do anything to threaten the lives of other people in the star territory. This is a very advantageous aspect for Jia Yan. So he wasn't too afraid. Your Majesty the Queen, please speak. Jia Yan's clone nodded lightly, looking forward to what the other party would say. The Queen of the Zerg looked at Jia Yan's attitude, as if she was very satisfied with how he was neither humble nor arrogant, and took another sip of the wine. Her cheeks were filled with a faint crimson color due to the alcohol, which was very beautiful. As a territory lord, and not an ordinary territory lord, I naturally have the idea of impacting to a higher realm. In this galaxy, if I want to have the possibility of impacting a higher realm, I must get to the center of the galaxy, which is the center of the Milky Way. Go to the star territory, where there are more powerful people and more geniuses. I have been preparing for this for a long time, but because of insufficient talent reserves, I have been at a stage where I am unable to leave. Huh? So, you mean to let me become a part of your talent pool? Jia Yan was slightly startled. He had never thought that the other party would actually say such a thing. He thought he was asking Jia Yan to carry out some kind of life and death mission. Yes, at our level, we are absolutely unwilling to go one step further. What's more, my ambition is far from that. My biggest wish for the future is, to break through the galaxy-level fog of the Milky Way. Reach an unknown level that is more powerful than the galaxy level, and then get rid of this galaxy that countless strong people have been unable to transcend for countless years, and truly travel the universe. What a loud tone! After listening to the Zerg Queen's words, Jia Yan's heart surged. You must know that her ambition is really lofty. Even after Jia Yan truly understood the starry sky and learned many inside stories about the starry sky, he never dared to think about it. Breaking through the galaxy level. It's easy to say it, but how can it be so easy to actually do it? Everyone in the entire galaxy knows that the strongest ones are those at the galaxy level, and this name seems to be destined to be unable to break through the galaxy level. No one can truly leave the galaxy and move towards the real universe. Read the latest chapters of Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito Claw Machine bookstore for free as soon as possible. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1827. And this Zerg Queen actually has such lofty ambitions. In fact, she is already very close to this ambition, at least much closer than Jia Yan. After all, she is already the top domain master, and then she reaches the high level of galaxy, then, the peak of galaxy, and finally, it is the higher level of strength than galaxy that no one has ever been able to defeat. Jia Yan looked around at a creature transformed from fire that acted like a normal creature, and couldn't speak to himself for a long time. In fact, he is more chaotic than the Zerg Queen. He says he wants to become stronger, but he has never confirmed whether he wants to surpass all the strong men in the galaxy and become the first person in the world to transcend the galaxy level existence. But now, being inspired by the Zerg Queen's words, some kind of wave in his heart was turning rapidly, as if he had made some kind of determination. Okay, Your Majesty the Queen, I am also willing to embark on the path of pursuing transcendence to the galaxy level, but there is one thing I want to make clear first. That is, my route is the same as yours. If you want to transcend the galaxy level, I will also. I think so. If you think I have something worth cultivating, then I will be very happy, but if you think that I am just competing with you for resources when I grow up, then it is okay not to let me join your plan. Everything depends on you. Decision. Huh? Do you also want to transcend the galaxy? The Zerg Queen was startled. Then she almost laughed. Because for her, Jia Yan was too weak. She said she was optimistic about him, but it was definitely not him now, but someone with certain strength in the future. He would at least reach the middle level of the galaxy before he could fall into her eyes. And such a being actually wants to transcend, which is like the funniest joke to the Zerg Queen. Are you sure you think so too? My actual idea is to find a few beings with talents like yours, and then lead you to at least reach the Domain Lord level. I am not sure about cultivating any higher levels. In her heart, the Zerg Queen is unwilling to let anyone else want to share her resources. After all, the road to the high level of the galaxy, or even the top, is absolutely extremely bumpy, and with one more follower who wants resources, it is absolutely impossible for her to accept. Lord of the territory? Your Majesty the Queen, I don't know what I will do if I cooperate with you. Jia Yan was non-committal, then his eyes moved and he asked the Zerg Queen. Yes, I will at least help you train to the territory lord level, but before that, you must first agree to serve me for at least 100 years. After 100 years, if you reach the territory lord level, or have reached the territory lord level, and after 100 years, I will let you leave on your own. The Queen of the Zerg has a very good idea, that is, if someone reaches the level of territory lord, they will probably have to compete with her for resources. In 100 years, she estimates that she will have the opportunity to stand in the galaxy no matter where she is. The upper level is the overlord of the galaxy high level. At that time, the demand for resources is even greater. It is a bit redundant to follow the domain lord who also needs resources. Moreover, in the battle of the galaxy high level, the domain lord level cannot help much. Keeping it is a waste of time. Therefore, she felt that if she wanted a genius to follow her forever, it would be better to limit it to 100 years. So, in this 100 years, no matter what level I reach, you will be responsible for the resources? Another point, I want to ask whether I join your banner as a subordinate or a collaborator. You also knowing my past, I am someone who aspires to be unfettered, so if I were to be your subordinate, I would not join. Jia Yan continued to ask. That's right, within 100 years, if you have the ability to attack the middle level of the galaxy in 50 years, then I will be responsible for helping you prepare the resources to attack the territory lord. If you have the ability to attack the territory lord within 100 years, success, no matter how much cultivation energy you need after reaching territory lord, I will be responsible for it, as long as the time does not exceed 100 years, of course, during these 100 years, you have to work for me. As for the subordinates you mentioned, it's not about being a subordinate, I don't want to be your leader, I just want you to follow some of my tasks, a pure collaborator. Pure collaborator? It still feels a bit like a subordinate. Jia Yan was silent for a while, then he nodded and said solemnly, Your Majesty, this is a big matter for you. Please allow me to think about it for a while. Okay, I originally sent a clone here to test you. After all, I thought your performance was not enough at the beginning. Now I just want to see how you will perform in this battle. Jia Yan picks the queen, and the queen also picks Jia Yan's strength. After all, this kind of thing is mutual. Jia Yan nodded. Of course he knew that with the strength of a domain lord, it would take a great test to choose a subordinate. As Jia Yan was not a talented person, the other party was just an example. Come here and have a look. If his performance in this battle is not good, then maybe you want to be a subordinate, but others don't want him. Of course, Jia Yan will never be a subordinate. Even if he is a collaborator as the Queen said, he is definitely better than a nominal subordinate. Even though this so-called collaborator is actually like a subordinate. The next thing is the same, but at least there is some room for negotiation. And Jia Yan also wants to see it. The opponent's strength is too terrifying. If he rashly said to cooperate with the opponent, and then showed up in person, only to be killed after going back on his promise, it would be too unlucky. So Jia Yan wants to observe what the opponent is like. If a person is not worthy of cooperation, then he will never cooperate with the other person. Then, Your Majesty the Queen, are you going to observe my battle like this, or are you going to hide? Just observe like this. Isn't it nice here? Ask your intelligence system to send some intelligence to this castle. Good. Now that the Queen is willing to observe the outside world with him in this castle, Jia Yan wants it. There is a big difference in strength between the two sides. He is most worried that the Queen's clone will escape to the outside world. If he accidentally becomes the enemy's side, Jia Yan will be a little depressed. After all, this is a domain lord level clone, and their strength is unfathomable, and if they join the other side, it may change the outcome of the entire war. Fortunately, the Queen didn't feel that way. Probably for such a strong man, the war in Orion's arms is like a small fight. Because she had won the war against the 4 territory lords, it is estimated that many galaxy intermediates died in her hands. So facing a battle where the strongest person was only a mid-level galaxy player, she was just watching it for fun. Far beyond the stars, in a twisted subspace, Jia Yan's real body breathed a silent sigh of relief. What he fears most is the arrival of the Zerg Queen, who wants to kill him, or is like those galaxy-class people who come to trouble him, preparing to use his flesh and blood to achieve some purpose. But looking at it now, it seems that the other party either doesn't know the magical effect of Jia Yan's evolved beast body, or she disdains this effect. After all, the evolved beast had some effect on a galaxy top being. If she knew something about me, it might still be a big hidden danger. I have to ask clearly next time, otherwise I will never appear here. In front of her. To a territory lord, the existence of the primary level of the galaxy, even if it is a genius, is nothing. After reaching the level of the galaxy, it is difficult to use talent to settle everything between levels. The Zerg Queen's talent was very likely to be better than Jia Yan's, so he didn't think he would gain any advantage against the Queen's clone. With Jia Yan's cautious character, he just thought that his strength was favored by the Queen, but he didn't know that she was preparing to deal with him, or that she really wanted to use his strength to climb to a higher peak. In addition, Jia Yan also thought that there should be no overly powerful beings among the Queen's subordinates, otherwise she would not have used energy to travel among the stars so early. Even Jia Yan, who was still weak at the time, all fancied. That's right. It is said that this queen is only about 200 years old now. The star field where she emerged is called the Zerg star field. Although this race is a traditional and powerful star field in the surrounding star field, it has never been seen before. Every territory lord has appeared and almost died several times, but after the Zerg Queen appeared, this star territory also saw the appearance of not-so-great geniuses. As a result, the strongest ones in it were still a few elementary beings of the galaxy. That's why I'm searching for talents everywhere. Jia Yan thought a lot. For example, the Queen of the Zerg has to recruit talents like this, which shows that she is the real strong place in the galaxy, that is, the center of the galaxy. It is absolutely extremely dangerous and terrifying. Even a domain lord level is very careful. To deal with it, this explains something a little bit. If Jia Yan really cooperates with her, going to the center of the galaxy will definitely be very dangerous, but danger also means high rewards. That is, he will get real guidance from a domain master creature, and in addition, he will get the huge material support she promised. To be honest, Jia Yan has been on his own until now. It is probably because of material and vision problems that he cannot match the talent of the Zerg Queen. If he had regular guidance and resources, Jia Yan believed that his cultivation speed would definitely make him. The Zerg Queen was startled. Of course, it is estimated that the talented creatures who accept the Queen's invitation in the future will probably have this idea. Jia Yan knows that those who can be selected will not be weak in talent, and some may even be the same as himself, or even it is possible to surpass yourself in terms of talent performance. Everyone should think so, thinking that with the Queen's guidance and material support, they will make faster progress. but no one knows what the actual situation is. In that situation, it will be very clear which one is the real genius and which one is the fake genius. But Jia Yan is very confident in himself. Within 100 years, he felt that he had received orthodox guidance, and even using his yin and yang dao, he might give the queen and her followers a surprise. Oh, but it's still not certain whether I will be willing to follow her. Anyway, the primary goal now is to deal with the coalition forces in front of me. Jia Yan laughed to himself. He didn't solve the immediate danger, but thought about further things. He was very sure that the queen would never help him in the current matter. After all, there was no agreement between the two parties, and the other party wanted to use this battle to see clearly what strength and talent Jia Yan had. In 100 years, if he can't even reach the middle level of a star, then the queen will definitely lose money, so she wants to see if Jia Yan is a person worthy of her training. This battle should be able to see a lot came out. In fact, if a galaxy-level creature could reach the intermediate galaxy level within a lifetime, let alone reaching the intermediate galaxy level in 100 years, they would be overjoyed. The intermediate galaxy level and the ordinary galaxy level can be said to be completely different levels. Among the enemies that Jia Yan will deal with, there is such a galaxy intermediate. The queen is looking forward to seeing what kind of strength Jia Yan, a galaxy-level entry-level existence but a genius who has always been known to transcend, has to deal with a galaxy-level mid-level powerhouse. Of course, she herself was such a terrifying genius who fought across levels everywhere. She even used a special fighting method to fight against two mid-level stars at the same time when she was in the primary level of galaxy. Compared with Jia Yan, are even worse, so she won't believe the nonsense that you can't fight beyond the galaxy level. But it's just relatively small. She was looking forward to whether Jia Yan could find a way to fight against the coalition led by a galaxy mid-ranker. If so, he could barely meet her requirements. Then you can bring it. Above the Interstellar, when the mysterious woman appeared, some rumors appeared in Chiyuan. For example, some terrifying and powerful man came to the Orion Arm and was ready to cause trouble for the Orion Arm. But before everyone had time to react, rumors spread that this strong man was a friend of the ancestor of the giant Mosquito, and he was indeed a terrifying strong man. Even the strength of this strong man was almost unfathomable. Judging, it is probably more terrifying than Lord Jia Yan. So as this kind of information spread, almost all the beings in the Orion Arm had increased their confidence in the Orion Arm. Some of this information is true and some is false. As for who spread the news, it is unknown. We only know that when hearing this information, the clone of the Zerg Queen looked at Jia Yan's clone who was in the same castle with her with a half-smile. I knew that there must be some giant mosquito causing trouble inside. Of course, these are all small things. The Zerg Queen will not be angry. After all, it is true that her appearance has caused some trouble for the Orion Arm. If the panic remarks start and Jia Yan loses the war, it will be her fault. Even if the queen is not afraid, she is not happy. Anyway, no one knew it was her who was coming, so it was nothing for Jia Yan to use her as a public opinion tool. Okay, Jia Yan, your real body is almost ready now. If you want to fight, let's start fighting. Although I am a clone, I don't have much time. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1828. Your Majesty the Queen, I am here to tell you this. Jia Yan's clone smiled lightly. The two of them were sitting opposite each other in the big castle, and they were surrounded by many giants transformed from flames. They were constantly serving the two of them, either with delicious food or with information, etc. It was an extremely enjoyable experience. Oh, so, are you ready to take action? Yes. Jia Yan personally sent a clone here to watch the Zerg Queen, and he was not worried that the Queen would leak his information. What's more, With the strength of the Zerg Queen, there was no need to join forces with those outside Galaxy-class people. She wanted to defeat Jia Yan. The idea is definitely to do it yourself, and the reward is unlikely. What Jia Yan needs to pay attention to is that he needs to see whether the Queen will do something to him after Jia Yan grows up. After all, the evolved beast is an existence that is attractive to a creature that has reached the pinnacle of the galaxy. Back then, it was also because of the existence of the Galaxy Summit who created the evolved beasts, so it was a matter of opinion whether the Zerg Queen would attack Jia Yan when he became stronger. But what happened at that time was the situation at that time. At least Jia Yan now doesn't think that the other party will do evil things to him. Then I'm looking forward to it. If you can deal with a Galaxy mid-level, or even just be able to tie with him, I will believe that you have the ability to cooperate with me. If there are any enemies at that time, I will help you solve them. The Queen's Earthling clone smiled faintly. But Jia Yan keenly found the meaning of the sentence, that is, this clone actually has the strength to deal with a mid-level galaxy being? That would be shocking. Jia Yan was silent for a while, and then smiled slightly in relief. In general, it is better for Jia Yan to have a target person with a driving force to move forward, and although the opponent is not too old, he is still more than 100 years older than Jia Yan. When Jia Yan reaches the age of after reaching the Domain Lord level, it is not certain whether he will be weak by then. The unknown future is more exciting and exciting, isn't it? Jia Yan silently switched to his real body. On the other side of the real body, after the clone had a conversation with the Zerg Queen, it flew out of the subspace. For a time, many creatures in the entire Orion arm saw Jia Yan's picture. Although it was unknown where in the starry sky he was, this giant mosquito creature took the initiative to appear in the public media for the first time since the beginning of the war. Lord Ancestor. Wow, it's our ancestor. The ancestor has reappeared. It's not a clone, but the ancestor comes in person. We are in for a treat. It's just so lucky, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to see my ancestor for many years. Countless creatures have been talking about the influence of Jia Yan's real body, which is being reported by countless media throughout the Orion arm. Of course, these media shootings are actually completely concealed. Even if the enemy wants to investigate Jia Yan's whereabouts, it will be difficult to find him. And Jia Yan will leave here immediately after he appears. Everyone in the Orion arm, I am the giant mosquito ancestor of the giant mosquito clan. Jia Yan talks to the camera. Until now, he still hasn't had the courage to say that he is Jia Yan, even if it is an open secret. In other words, Jia Yan feels that even if he takes these secrets into the coffin, there will be no problem. In short, he calls himself the ancestor of the giant mosquito as everyone calls him. Everyone, our Orion arm home star field has been attacked by extremely violent enemies in recent years. During this period, countless heroes and strong men have sacrificed their lives. This war was once more difficult for us. It is dangerous, but through our efforts, the situation has now turned around. The Orion arm is slowly taking back its homeland, and it has also killed several of the top enemies among the enemies, that is, the Galaxy class. Now is the time for us to completely take back our territory and even fight back against the enemies who dare to attack our Orion arms. Everyone, please follow my footsteps and launch the final counterattack against the enemies. Jia Yan's appearance in the media is a strong signal to everyone. The Orion arm is ready to launch a general offensive, and it will be an attack to resolve this war in one go. Of course, this information is not only for the troops within Orion's arms, but is also released to other star fields in the outside world, and even to the enemy. The Orion arm can change its previously blindly evasive and weak position, which suffered a huge loss, into an active attack aspect. This is an indescribable improvement for the Orion arm, and it is a change in style that makes others absolutely stunned. Launch a counterattack. Launch a counterattack. We have to fight back. After hearing that Jia Yan, the de facto strongest man in the Orion arm and the true leader of the entire star territory, came forward in person to say such inspiring words, many living creatures and people in the entire Orion arm suddenly became excited. Became very happy about this. Some people even looked up to the sky and screamed. In this war, the Orion arm suffered too many losses, especially on planets or interstellar materials close to the border, all of which were under great pressure. Now, all these pressures have turned into motivation to cheer for Jia Yan. In an instant, countless people burst into tears because of Jia Yan's words. Okay, now listen to my order, the Western and Southern Coalition forces, change the direction of your fleet and launch an attack on the enemy headquarters in the southwest. Yes. When Jia Yan said this, two members of Jia Yan's team appeared in the Interstellar at some point, and they shouted and accepted the order. North and East, follow my orders and launch a counter-attack against the enemy headquarters in the northeast. Yes. On the other side, two strong men from Jia Yan's team appeared in front of the camera again. General attack, begin. Yes. What Jia Yan said about the current evolved beast was like an edict from the Orion arm. After he finished speaking, the entire Orion arm moved. Countless creatures, countless fleets, countless soldiers, countless materials, and even countless ordinary people are donating materials to the army. The rich contribute money and the powerful contribute. Suddenly, the war materials and momentum in Orion's arms were vast. The warships had been purchased recently, and the number suddenly increased by 30%. You must know that there are already many battleships in the Orion arm. If there are 3 more layers, the number will be almost unimaginable. But these replacements are necessary. The warships in the Orion arm are homemade, and many are built on the fly. Compared with the warships bought from the outside world, they are naturally a little inferior, especially since the Orion arm has never been able to purchase supplies from the outside world. Now that I am liberated in one fell swoop, I will naturally go shopping. The outside world will not have any thoughts about the Orion arm in this situation, because no matter whether the Orion arm wins or loses, as long as Jia Yan, the person involved, does not die, the Orion arm will remain in power for a long time. Here, it has become the strongest star field in the entire surrounding star field. After all, it is a star field that has killed many people even at the galaxy level. It is of course an extremely powerful star field for other star fields that are not even at the galaxy level. Naturally, they can only sell many goods as ordinary goods. Even if they are a little more expensive than usual, this is what war shopping is. At least they don't dare to make a profit, which is already very good. Therefore, when there was a large amount of supplies and some star regions began to dare to sell to the Orion arm, the merchants in the Orion arm suddenly became the favorites of all star regions. Oh, the strongest person in your star field actually came out to speak. On a certain trading planet, Jiarong, who had not left this planet for a long time, heard voices in his ears. He looked at the picture on the TV screen and frowned. Turning around and kissing the beauty who was speaking, he shook his head helplessly. Do you just want to remind me that he is my relative? This woman is the female reporter from the alien space who dealt with Jiarong back then. Although she looks like an Earthling, she is actually a completely different race from the Earthlings. However, recent research has found that these two races can breed with each other. And Jiarong did take advantage of it. I didn't want to say this, just because I'm a reporter. Can you just tell me? What is your relationship with this giant mosquito ancestor? The female reporter asked curiously. I won't tell you. Jiarong's words made her heart hurt slightly. She felt that she should have been deceived by the Geo family of Earth. You must know that she did not want to have anything to do with the eldest son of the Geo family at first, just because the other person's life experience made her very curious. Then slowly, this person just walked into his own life. You must know that she had kept herself to herself before and had no contact with any man at all. But now she suddenly heard that this man, a direct line of the Geo family, was so perfunctory by the person she loved. Tears rolled in her eyes, thinking that she would be treated similarly to his mother. Treatment. Just when the female reporter thought that she was being perfunctory, in the future she might just be like a lover, secretly. But Jiarong suddenly took over again. I won't tell you. You can follow me to Earth and ask my family, and they will tell you. Huh? I'll follow you to Earth, so to speak. The female reporter's eyes were almost filled with surprise. That's right, I'm going to treat you as my real girlfriend and introduce you to my family. Why, do you still think I will just keep you in the dark like this? Please, I'm different from that guy, and I won't let women uncomfortable. While Jiarong spoke, he looked at the giant mosquito on the TV media vaguely, and then snorted coldly. Jia Yan didn't know that his son was far away on a trading planet and had found a wife for him. If he knew, he would probably be in a good mood. Although he does not like to see or accept his son very much, but when it is his grandson's turn, there will probably not be so many barriers. This is human psychological nature. Okay, stop recording. Jia Yan ordered the media, and soon after he flew out of the subspace outside, the media's filming stopped. Not long after, the small ships on which the media were riding quickly left the starry sky. Their mission was only this. Jia Yan left behind several members of Jia Yan's team who came here. There's no one else around now. Jia Yan moved his front foot down, and an object similar to a field, but not quite like a field, appeared in the entire space. Wrapping several of his subordinates and himself into it, Jia Yan ensured that no one could hear what he and others were saying inside. Tell me about the material preparations for this battle. Sir, we feel that there is still a certain vacancy in the supplies for this war. Unless we continue to purchase resources from the outside while fighting, otherwise, once they are cut off, the consequences will be disastrous. Yes, it's the same here. If we fight according to what adults say, I feel that the supplies here are also very tight. You must know that such a fight will be a test for our outside world and business capabilities, because those who sell our things Star territory will definitely raise prices because of the war. Several subordinates were not worried about Jia Yan's idea of a comprehensive counterattack war. Mainly in terms of supplies, this war is destined to not be a small battle. It aims to completely disperse and destroy the enemy. However, this requires great logistics, and the Orion arm has been fighting for so long. No matter how good it is, the foundation of the weapon has been completely wiped out, not to mention that the Orion arm has no foundation in the first place. The question they are raising is precisely the biggest concern for Orion arm, which is the commercial method that has become the main lifeline. If merchants see profits and start to increase prices or close certain channels, then the entire war will be ugly. Don't worry, if they dare to play tricks, I will personally come to condolences their star field or business group. Jia Yan sneered and asked Jiyuan to solve the problem instantly. Several subordinates immediately stopped worrying about this matter. Even galaxy-level beings came to the door in person. Not to mention some commercial companies, even other star regions had no choice but to surrender. This is like a nuclear weapon. It becomes a huge threat instantly when it is taken out. Even if they just take out what Jia Yan said at this time and say it directly, all the surrounding stars will not dare not listen. The intimidating power of a galaxy level is simply astounding, not to mention a super galaxy level powerhouse like Jia Yan who kills other galaxy levels as if he is killing the weak. Okay, now let's talk about the issue of the source of troops. Last time I heard you say that there seemed to be some problem with the source of troops. This problem must be solved this time, because I am going to use a strategy of crushing with a large number of troops. This will actually help let the war end quickly, and our personnel losses will be minimized. The issue of soldier resources has always been a big problem for the Orion arm. Although in the eyes of outsiders, the Orion arm seems to win entirely based on the number of troops, but in fact, in this kind of battle, the lowest starting point for being able to enter the war stage is a heaven-level existence. The influence of heaven-level existence on the Orion Arms star field said, in fact, not too weak. Therefore, there is a big problem with the supply of soldiers. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1829. Sir, I think there are two solutions to the problem of troop sources. The first one is the simplest, but it also has many hidden dangers, and that is to recruit mercenaries from outer space. Such people are very good at fighting and are very professional. But like this, it can be said that it is difficult to prevent a mixture of fish and dragons, and spies from those major star regions may enter our system. Another way is to immediately use large resources to squeeze the talent potential of the star field. It is possible for talents to reach the sky level, or the star level, or the honor level to quickly burst out a wave of talents in a short period of time, but this approach should the results are not that quick. Sir, I wonder which method you think should be used. The one who spoke was the cowherd. Jia Yan also thought about the two options he mentioned, but he didn't think so much. Listening to his concise words at this time, Jia Yan made a quick choice. A strong person acts decisively. Well, it's not a good idea to choose either of the two options separately. Let's go hand in hand. After all, whether you invest in mercenaries or support local talents, they have their own limitations. Jia Yan's words made several people whisper. Because they know that the resources and financial resources within Orion's arms are actually not that much, and they are not even worthy of its current reputation. This makes it difficult for them to flex their muscles, let alone pursue the two major plans simultaneously. But now that Jia Yan has said it, there will be no different results, not to mention that he has thought clearly and will make some efforts. As for the money issue, I will see if there is any way to help in the Northern Star Territory. After all, most of the resources in the Northern Star Territory are in my hands now. If they come out more evenly, I guess I can help. Don't be busy, not to mention the mercenaries, we can also let the Northern Star Territory do some work. Being so far apart, there will be a lot less spies and the like. After Jia Yan figured out certain joints, his ideas changed a lot, so what he said made the eyes of Tianyu Lang and others shine, and they felt that Jia Yan had reached the point. Very good, let's act accordingly. The original strength of the Orion arm is our heritage, so we must not skimp on training. If more strong men can emerge before the end of the war, it will be beneficial to us. Jia Yan issued the final order. Yes, sir. Several people expressed their agreement with Jia Yan's words, and then several subordinates left this unknown starry sky and rushed to their own war zones. In addition to being high-level officials within the entire Orion arm, these people were also super strong men who were in charge of one side during the war. Moreover, because they had to perform joint tricks, these subordinates were completely united together, which made it difficult for them to have many people. Became less. When you reach the star level, it is not that simple to recruit. Even if Jia Yan is a galaxy level, it is still very difficult to wait for someone who has reached the star level or even the middle star level to join him. Difficult things. Therefore, the members of Jia Yan's team will become a major help to Jia Yan for a long time to come. Of course, for him now, this help has become weaker and weaker, and it has become like a simple helper for Jia Yan. Where they are really beneficial to Jia Yan, they cannot reach that level at all. But even then, the current Jia Yan team is already good enough, and they have also achieved their own requirements, which is to become a stellar mid-level powerhouse. When they join Jia Yan's team, they just wanted to reach the stellar mid-level or above. I didn't expect that it has become a reality just a few years ago. What's more exciting for them, and the reason why they are still following Jia Yan tirelessly, is that until now, they actually have a way to kill the powerful ones at the lower level of the star, and even the ones at the top of the star. This is very important to these for those who were only in the first level of stars back then, and even in the first level, who were not very outstanding. Following Jia Yan seemed like the most correct decision in their lives. So they will not give up on Jia Yan. Now they have finally gained Jia Yan's full trust and regarded him as one of their own. He has also become a big leader in the ascending star field. This is already the pinnacle of life for them. How can they give birth to a child? What a double-minded thing. Jia Yan really trusts them. Just as Jia Yan was carefully making layouts and preparations, and was even giving pre-war speeches frequently in semi-public and public places, he received another message. The information was sent by the enemy. This is something that the mid-level galaxy being said to Jia Yan personally. Your Excellency, Mr. Jia Yan, as noble galaxy-level beings who have fought with you for a long time, we feel that it is necessary to have another good-humored negotiation with you. As the most powerful and most respected galaxy-level being in the Orion Arm, we respect you very much. But the war between us is caused by many coincidences that no one wants to see, and various due to this disagreement, we would like to express our sincere apologies for having the temerity to attack your star domain. However, our war is unavoidable, so after some discussion, we still sent out this signal. In the next war, we will respect your starfield powerhouses and even ordinary soldiers. There are general war clauses for both sides in our starfield war, which include detailed treatment of captured and humiliated soldiers, as well as the treatment of strong people, or top leaders. In this message, extremely detailed terms of war were listed. But Jia Yan didn't even read it carefully, he sneered and closed the information directly. Oh, now tell me the official way of fighting the war. So what does it matter if you killed so many strong men on the planet and ordinary people on my Orion Arm before? Jia Yan knew that the other party wanted to control the casualties as much as possible after seeing Jia Yan's power and the terror of the Orion Arm. Only then did he pretend to be hypocritical, as if he had just suddenly realized that he wanted to fight a fair war against the Orion Arm. But how could Jia Yan agree with their ideas? After all, as a strong man, for Jia Yan, the war model has always been one of life and death. There is no framework agreement or anything like that. It is completely nonsense. Therefore, Jia Yan believes that he should have shocked the other party. This shows that his Orion Arm army and his combat effectiveness have indeed made the other party feel a little bit hazy, making them afraid that he will also. The information came after the fate of those galaxy-class people in front. Jia Yan didn't care about all that, he just wanted to kill this group of incoming beings. The two sides fought overtly and covertly. After Jia Yan received this information, and it was like a mud cow drowning in the sea with no news at all to the enemy, they became angry and started a secret fight against the Orion Arm. Or it was a war of international public opinion, or an encounter between a small group of troops, or the enemy announced that a large force had arrived for reinforcements, etc., to name a few. The Orion Arm had no idea of retreating at all, and all of them were united. Refute the news one by one, or counterattack in a targeted manner. The Orion Arm at this time was completely different from when it was suddenly attacked by this large force. There is a big gap in terms of strength, but the Orion Arm has developed a terrifying joint fighting technique, so their combat effectiveness is not far behind due to the huge number of basic strength. Although there is a gap between the two sides in the number of higher-level experts, Jia Yan has the explosive meteorites of star-level experts. This kind of thing is called the artifact of the Orion Arm, because its appearance instantly changed the situation of the insufficient number of strong men at the top of the Orion Arm. Try to think about it. If you meet a strong person at the beginning of the stellar level, it is actually possible to kill a high-level star. How can you cry? Because of the unprecedented and unnatural advantages of the Orion arm in several ordinary situations, they went from being hasty at the beginning to now being well organized in the war, and even becoming mysterious and powerful to the enemy. These small actions of war can be said to be the precursor of the coming and going, which will slowly evolve into a decisive battle. The dark clouds of the entire battle were thickly cast over the battlefield. Did that boy find me a wife? One day, when the war was about to break out, Jia Yan suddenly heard some news. For a moment he didn't know what he was feeling. As for his son Jia Rong, he hasn't even thought about whether he will really accept it. Fortunately, he has already found a wife, and now he is taking her to his hometown on Earth to meet his parents. I don't know how Satsumadan feels. Jia Yan thought about it and felt that it was better not to come forward. This son has always been unwilling to deal with his classmates, so it would not be a good idea to come forward. But after you get married, you will have a grandson. This is no ordinary grandson, but a grandson who carries Jia Yan's genes and has a bright future. Jia Yan has even thought about letting this lineage protect the Earth and the Orion arm. Jia Yan couldn't help but think too much when the clouds of war were gathering. But he soon pulled his thoughts away from his son. He will go to the wedding. Didn't he just meet his parents now? Not urgent. Jia Yan silently paid attention to his son's affairs, but didn't have many thoughts that he wanted to face directly. And what is supposed to come will still come. One day, when an Orion arm army and an allied advance team met on a certain battlefield, they fought to the death. It happened that the enemy and the Orion arm's rescue fleet both arrived at the battlefield at the same time, and when both sides have no choice but to start a war. It was like a powder keg exploding, and instantly, the entire precarious battlefield became filled with clouds of war. The war has officially begun. Lord Jia Yan, the war has begun. Okay, I already know. To be honest, whether it was Jia Yan or an ordinary Orion arm creature, no one was surprised to hear that the war finally broke out. Because at this time, half a month has passed since the last time Jia Yan announced the start of all-out war. Although half a month is not too long for everyone, but for the fronts that have announced the start of all-out war, it's already quite long. Of course, Jia Yan is not too worried about the beginning of the war, because he has already prepared everything. Moreover, because of the appearance of the Zerg Queen, Jia Yan feels that he is not aware of the war at this time. So interested. His vision has become higher. He has faced several major galaxies, and most of them are at the beginning of the galaxy. For Jia Yan, it is no longer an uncomfortable war. He puts his vision beyond in the future. We will go with those powerful galactic middle-level people, and even those who may be domain lords. This war has finally begun. I have done everything I can do. It just depends on how it develops. But at least one thing I can't ignore is that in this war, I want to fight so that the Zerg Queen can see my talent and future. If I cannot do this, then this war will not be successful. Although Jia Yan didn't want to be anyone's subordinate, the conditions offered to him by the Zerg Queen were so generous that Jia Yan could hardly refuse. After all, no one has the chance to get the guidance of someone who has reached the peak of the Domain Lord and is the peak of the talented Domain Lord. In addition, there is also the material support of the super-large star domain. With this kind of support, Jia Yan feels that he may. For some of my previous thoughts and ideas, I went to Shiyuan for summary experiments. It is true that the Orion arm is controlled by Jia Yan, and it is true that this is a large star field, but Jia Yan understands very well that the size, technology, energy, etc. of the Orion arm are completely unable to compare with the Zerg Queen's, which is nearly 1 or 2,000 light-years away. The control range of large and small star fields is comparable. So Jia Yan was a little bit looking forward to using this Zerg Queen as a springboard to a stronger road. Get her guidance, then use her resources to become stronger than her. Of course, Jia Yan probably also knows that the Zerg Queen completely understands the thoughts of followers like Jia Yan, and there may even be followers with similar thoughts around her, but she has no worries at all and dares to play tricks on her. She would naturally have the strength to kill those who conspired. If there were no conspiracies, she would have the absolute confidence to suppress everyone. You know, she is definitely one of the powerful people that Jia Yan has heard of so far, and her talent is definitely better than hers. At least Jia Yan's speed of reaching the first level of the galaxy is not as fast as hers. Jia Yan can't guarantee what will happen behind the scenes, but at least having a goal, or getting closer to this goal, is the first thing he needs to do. So now I want to play smart and win quickly, maybe it's a good choice. Jia Yan's heart grew bigger, which made him feel a little less worried after dealing with the previous galaxy intermediate. It's a pity that the idea that one's heart is as high as the sky and one's life is as thin as a piece of paper has always happened in the interstellar world. If Jia Yan underestimated the enemy too much, he might be in a life-or-death crisis when faced with the siege of that mid-level galaxy creature and the group of primary-level galaxy creatures he brought with him. What will happen depends on the state of the war. Read the latest chapters of Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito Claw Machine bookstore for free as soon as possible. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1830. Boom 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 boom. Above the stars, it can be said that 100 flowers are blooming. The countless flowers are exactly the battleships and artillery fire between the two parties. These cannon fires are the most beautiful colors blooming in the starry sky, but this beauty was obtained with countless blood and tears. This, how could it develop like this? It was just a small collision. Why did it turn into a big war of this level? Don't worry about it. Misfires are the cause of many wars. As the ones who caused them, it's not bad that we didn't die. In the interstellar battle, a small battleship spaceship was like a small boat drifting in the sea. It was almost destroyed several times. This battleship was the battleship of the Orion Arm that triggered the war. At that time, they met each other's battleships, and then called their friends and called many battleships. As a result, they attracted many battleships. Therefore, it turned into a major battle, which triggered an instant all-out war between the entire Orion Arm and the coalition forces. No one will care about this battleship anymore. After all, it is just a small factor in this level of war. There is nothing worthy of everyone thinking that they have merit, because it is inevitable. Of course, some people will remember them, just like the opposing coalition forces. They just remember this ship branch. They want to kill them, and then they can publicize that the perpetrators of the Orion Arm have already been solved. Of course, they have already hidden the initial fleet of the opposing coalition that caused the incident, because it will be a good excuse for their propaganda war. Unlike the Orion Arm, the coalition has no intention of fighting a full-scale war. They wanted to delay it slowly, because the purpose of their war was not to destroy the Orion Arm. Therefore, when the original intentions and concepts of both sides are different, the war between the Orion Arm and the Allied forces becomes like an asymmetric war. The enemy has no intention to fight, but the Orion Arm is a kind of fighting. Fighting momentum. The difference in overall momentum will lead to different results of the war. Each and every one of the troops within Orion's arms expressed extreme confidence in the results before them. And the same is true in actual wars. The entire battlefield is full of Orion Arm fleets, chasing enemy warships. It's a pity that the biggest guarantee in the enemy's coalition is their super strong men. That is the existence of star level upwards. Especially people at the mid-stellar level and above, they are no longer half-stellar level beings that can be dealt with by joining forces. Although the strong men in the Orion Arm have many unique tricks with the help of Jia Yan and even have methods to deal with a high-level star being, there are still few star-level beings in the Orion Arm, so the battlefield instantly changes. Gotta be a little bit detrimental to the Orion Arm. What's going on? Our Orion Arm battleship group was clearly advancing well just now. Why are we retreating again now? The enemy's stellar class is coming. They can destroy a battleship with one move. We can't stop them at all. Over there, there was a venerable level joint team over there, which was killed by their star level. Although the star level also paid a price, we can't resist the star level. Our stellar team cannot stop their stellar presence. Our Orion arm will still lose this war. They are already fighting, but they have been joining forces to prevent the emergence of stronger powerful ones, so it is impossible to fight against more stars. The entire battle situation is riddled with holes. You must know that the number of star-level warriors in the coalition forces has reached thousands, which the Orion arm people have never heard of. With so many star-level beings, it is absolutely impossible to deal with the only dozens of star-level beings in the Orion arm. Incomparable. Even if the star-level creatures can be resisted by the half-star level team in the Orion arm, the difference in numbers is still too big. Not to mention the mid-level star creatures, there is no joint team in the Orion arm that can fight against them. Only by joining forces with the powerful warriors at the primary level of the stars can they fight against the powerful warriors at the mid-level or higher level of the stellar coalition. But the situation is the same and there is no way to change it. The coalition forces whose secrets have been revealed still have a much stronger number than the Orion arm. They are not worried about the loss of strong personnel at all. On the Orion arm, whether it is a constant breath level or every time one of the half-stars is lost, the entire Orion arm front will be shocked. Fortunately, when the Orion arm has top-level combat power, such as those at the primary level of stars, they will begin to possess the meteorite explosives created by Jia Yan for this war. This terrible thing, it's almost a nightmare for the coalition forces. In other words, although there are few top-level warriors in the Orion arm, the number has hardly decreased. Even if one or two are injured, it is not a situation where they cannot fight, but at most they can just retreat and recuperate. To sum up, the entire battle was extremely intense from the beginning. Both sides had great disadvantages, but also had extremely significant advantages. Of course, the Orion arm used the human wave tactic, and many people died at the beginning. But this kind of death will cost the enemy a lot, so the battle situation is gradually tilting towards the Orion arm. Especially in a certain situation on the battlefield, after Jia Yan's team joined the war one after another, the entire war situation began to be rewritten. Bang! Puff! Click! The attacks came from the strongest people in the Orion arm except Jia Yan. They were members of Jia Yan's team, and they were also the most powerful beings in the Orion arm except Jia Yan. Each of these beings are extremely confident in the war in front of them. Although they are fighting together, they are generally very scattered, because in addition to joining forces, they also have a large number of meteorite explosives that Jia Yan gave them. Even if they come a top-level star-level powerhouse, they were all confident of dealing with him alone. Of course, there is a huge demand for explosives in this battle. If they can be used without them, then it is better to save some. So they never thought about using such terrifying explosives to clear the way. But even if they don't use such a powerful trump card, their combat effectiveness is still amazing. A member of Jia Yan's team. No, run away. In the shadow of the famous human tree, although Jia Yan's team is just a group of creatures that have reached the mid-level star level, they have a very high status in the Orion arm, and previous combat examples have also shown that this team cannot use ordinary mid-level star level creatures. Measure. So even when the team members on Relancy's side encountered a group of stellar-level teams led by mid-level stellar beings, the other party actually ran away without looking back even though there were 3 mid-level stellar beings. After all, the members of Jia Yan's team had dealt with a coalition force that had reached the pinnacle of stellar existence before, and even attracted a galaxy class from the coalition to take action, but Jia Yan also sent his clone, and even the galaxy class fell. Falling out, this is an almost impossible miracle for ordinary mid-level stellar creatures like them. Now that they are encountering the members of the legendary Jia Yan team, how can they have any idea of confrontation? Just turn around and run. Oh! He actually ran away when he saw us. I thought he needed a good fight. But do you want to escape? No, we will catch up. Luo Longxi and others smiled slightly when they saw this group of star-level beings. They are really not too afraid of the existence of mid-level stars of the same level. Not to mention the use of meteorite explosives, they didn't even bother to use them on these mid-level stars. They could easily kill these guys with their own combat power alone and their combined combat power. And they would not let go of such an opportunity. Seeing that the team led by the three intermediate stars was actually running for their lives in front, the three of them joined forces to form the exclusive yin and yang Dao method for intermediate stars, and they exploded into positive and negative situations. With the power of speed, he chased away like flying through the universe. Coming, so fast. Ah, they are actually so much faster than our stellar mid-level ones. Are they really stellar mid-level ones? Members of Jia Yan's team, just like Jia Yan, cannot be judged by common sense. Just now you said you wanted to fight, but now you see, they think we are weak, and we really can't beat them. Run, run, run. Originally, in the stellar team led by the three stellar mid-levels, there was also a stellar mid-level being who wanted to fight back against Jia Yan's team, but now that he saw it, he didn't know that he and others were fighting against Jia Yan. The team was not on the same level at all, and it was too late to escape. They ran away extremely fast, but they couldn't resist the members of Jia Yan's team behind them, who were even faster. Bang! Not long after, the first member of Jia Yan's team caught up with an enemy primary creature from the star. This creature almost burst into tears. As a first-level star expert, he was originally a dominant presence in such a battlefield, but when Jia Yan's team personally took action, he really encountered a natural disaster. Just the same, there is no ability to resist at all. He was killed by Luo Longxi, who was flying at the front with one strike. And the most irritating thing is that killing a constant breath level would be a great achievement in any star field, but none of the three members of Jia Yan's team are so happy. On the other hand, there was another female creature, the scorpion-like original god, who was arguing with Luo Longxi unhappily. Hey, you killed the first one, and it will be our turn next. After all, we also need credit. Okay, I'll give it to you. Relancy was extremely helpless towards this scorpion creature. Even though she was a mother, she was still so angry. When the members of Jia Yan's team said they wanted to kill, they really meant killing. Bang bang. After catching up with the two primary star creatures, they couldn't help but kill several primary star creatures in a split second. And these big stars are not just waiting to be killed. They all fight back with all their strength. Unfortunately, facing the members of Jia Yan's team is like a baby facing an adult. Almost no one can resist them. A hint of strength. Very good, in this way we have all killed one primary level star. There are still 9 primary level stars, 3 intermediate level stars, and 4 more for each person. Ha ha ha, a good distribution method, for the coalition forces. He really thinks about us and is afraid that we might quarrel. Don't be too arrogant. When the enemy heard that the stellar mid-level creatures in Orion's arms who were chasing him from behind actually said such hateful words, they were immediately furious. After all, which strong man could tolerate such depressing remarks? One of them, a stellar mid-level creature, shouted loudly. He led the 3 primary star beings he brought with him to fight back desperately. It's not that he has a grand idea of sacrifice, but that he has analyzed the speed of both sides. They have no possibility of escaping. They will only be slowly chased and then killed. Instead of doing this, it is better to return to the fight. The attack may allow the members of Jia Yan's team to be frightened by a certain sudden attack, allowing him and others to take time to escape. Unfortunately, their actions are destined to be in vain. Haha, here you go, these four are mine. The female creature of the Scorpion clan quickly rushed out of the sky and struck at the 4-star level existences in front of her. You will take credit. Relancy originally wanted to fight, but it was obvious that this female yin-yang creature of the Scorpion clan couldn't wait any longer, so she had no choice but to let go of the idea of competing for credit. At this moment, countless people are watching this battle. After all, this battle was the beginning of the all-out war. It was the first time that the members of Jia Yan's team took action. Facing this team member who had killed the most elite star-level existence in the coalition except for the galaxy level, they did not dare to do so. There is the slightest slight. Bang! Relancy ran into another team that was being overtaken from behind. The female creature of the Scorpion clan had already struck out with a single blow. The Scorpion sting stung a primary star creature. Then, his brainwave power was an impact, using the explosive method of yin and yang dao. In an instant, he knocked the big-headed monster of mid-level star into disarray with one blow. When she struck one at a time, killing all the mid-level stars and primary level stars in front of her, Luo Longxi over there was so fast that she came first, attacking the small star-level players assigned to her in front of her. The team also solved the problem in the same way. The surrounding groups of strong men were all deeply shocked by the performances of these stellar mid-level beings from Jia Yan's team. Killing people of the same level is like eating and drinking, there is no feeling of being resisted at all. Although each of these members of Jia Yan's team is at the top of the mid-level stellar ranks, their performance may have shocked others. One is so powerful that it can be said to be a talent for fighting, but each one is so powerful, that means something. What they learned seems to be what Jia Yan himself did, yin-yang tao, right? Moreover, all the well-known strong men in the Orion arm seem to have learned yin-yang tao. Is this thing really so powerful? Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1831. It must be so. I have heard of the famous name of Yin and Yang Dao in my star field. This time I saw it, and it is indeed well deserved. A mid-level star creature, killing the same level is like eating and drinking water. The simplicity was an eye-opener for me. Yin Yang Dao, as well as Jia Yan's team, are so surprising. Fortunately, our star field did not fall to the coalition forces. Otherwise, the coalition forces may be really defeated in the future. Our star field is right next to the Orion arm, so we have to tough luck. Exactly, the same is true for our star field. That Jia Yan is too strong. Around the battlefield, in addition to war observers from their respective armies, there are also media from all aspects, as well as powerful people. Some of them are media workers from outer space. Each of them has become able to enter the interior of the Orion arm due to the wide opening of the Orion arm, and will no longer be affected by Tianji's energy. In fact, Jia Yan has long asked Senior Tianji to save some energy and stop being shrouded all the time. After all, in addition to the residents of the Orion arm, there are also strong men from the native star field, as well as mercenaries from the outside world, so keeping such a defense open is not good for the current situation. In other words, Jia Yan has already interfered with the status and strength of Senior Tianji's energy. Of course, the senior will not develop a fight with him, because Jia Yan's current protection of the Orion arm is also something he wants to see, not to mention that it is also something that this energy body is willing to do if he can survive for a while longer. When Jia Yan's team entered an uninhabited land and killed a group of star-level enemies, several star-level experts rushed out of the battle formation on the opposite side. They instantly entered the side of Jia Yan's team. The peak of stars. The expressions of several major members of Jia Yan's team suddenly became slightly stern. But as they had killed top star-level powerhouses, they didn't have any fear. This group of peak star level beings didn't seem to look down upon Jia Yan's team. There were 6 people coming from the other side, 3 more than the members of Jia Yan's team. They were in the test. Did Jia Yan's team face a star peak twice their own? This is a battle between the Orion Arm and the Allied forces, except for the strongest combat forces below the galaxy level. Jia Yan's team, don't think that just because Jia Yan has given you any means, you can deal with the top star. Last time you were able to kill a top star. It just shows that you are lucky. Now you are facing enough people. The peaks of the 6 major stars are twice as many as yours. Now let's see how you respond. The last time Jia Yan's team dealt with the existence of the star peak, they used a fighting method in which the 3 members of Jia Yan's team used meteorite explosives to join forces. Although no one in the enemy could see clearly what the team was using, they knew that method. Joint tactics are required and there are certain resource requirements. Now facing the 6 peak creatures of the star, the members of Jia Yan's team will definitely not be able to join forces to deal with one of them. In other words, Jia Yan's team will have to deal with 2 of them with 1 person. This shows that they definitely have no chance of winning. Of course, everyone up and down the Orion Arm, whether it was Jia Yan's team or the lower level heaven level beings, all had inexplicable combat capabilities, and they did not dare to underestimate them. If someone is not careful and a member of Jia Yan's team finds an opportunity to kill him, it would be a bit unlucky. After all, they also knew that even in their opinion, it was impossible for the members of Jia Yan's team to kill the 6 peaks of their stars, but they used all their strength to kill one of them using a life-for-life strategy. Both of you still have a great chance. Then they are afraid that the unlucky guy is themselves. The top-level creatures of the 6 stars just confronted the members of Jia Yan's team. The picture is a bit funny. The beings at the top of the stars are essentially much stronger than the 3 mid-level beings. But in this picture, these beings at the top of the stars actually dare not attack Jia Yan's team at all. The members were all silent, as if it wasn't them who were ambushing them, but they were the ones being ambushed. What are you guys doing? Come on, come on. When these star peak beings did not dare to take action, a group of other Starfield reporters or strong men who were watching the war were secretly ridiculing. An earth-shattering roar reached the ears of these star peak beings. Middle. They all shuddered. They knew that this was their leader, the galaxy-level man who usually treated them well in their own star domain, who was angry with them. You must know that this galaxy-level master treats the star peak creatures very peacefully. After all, in their star field, they are the only star peak beings like them who are the closest to the galaxy-level powerhouses. If they are not good to them, that galaxy-level being doesn't even have friends. But now, this galaxy-level master actually yelled at them. This to the top star-level beings, they completely understood that this galaxy-level master must be angry. After all, their existence caused a lot of jokes. At this moment, these top star warriors no longer had the slightest idea of being unprepared to fight against the members of Jia Yan's team in front of them. They are also strong men, and they also want to have face. The peak existence of the 6 major stars was actually frightened by the middle-level juniors of the 3 major stars. When this was revealed, not only the galaxy-level adult who was their boss would feel shameless, but also them. I, too, will have no face to return to my hometown in the future. Let's do it. Be careful, don't let anyone fall for their tricks, otherwise they will definitely die. Don't worry, can they do it without any warning? Let me hide it for you. Bang. When the last star-top creature boasted that he could evade the fighting power of Jia Yan's team, in an instant, a terrifying exploding bullet-like meteorite penetrated his brain. This. How can it be? A group of stellar peak creatures were all in disbelief, because they didn't feel at all that any of the 3 members of Jia Yan's team who were surrounded by them had moved. He. But soon, 3 members of Jia Yan's team helped them answer their confusion with laughter. Thank you, sir, for taking the initiative. Luo Longxi pointed at a distant warship and clasped her fists from a distance. Of course, everyone's eyes were attracted to this battleship. At the same time, inside the battleship, there was a very inconspicuous creature that looked like a venerable, and suddenly burst out with a shocking momentum. Although this momentum rose very quickly, it reached a strength of about half a star level and then stopped progressing. Isn't this true? Several members of the team that besieged Jia Yan were completely silent at this moment, and each of them thought of a certain name. That's right, the creature who had previously ordered them to attack, that is, their leader, a galaxy level. At this moment, the whole person was furious and roared. Jia Yan, you actually took action against the stellar class yourself. That's right, it was Jia Yan's clone who came. It's just that the strength of this clone only reaches half-star level, and it only has the kind of victory results in the past. One clone is replaced by another galaxy level. At this time, the appearance of Jia Yan's clone, no one on either side dares to look down upon it. Oh? Can't I take action? This clone of mine is just a being with half-star strength. What's more, Your Excellency, you can let the existence of the peak of stars attack the 3 intermediate stars under me, and the number of people is more than my subordinates have doubled, so I can't take action. Can I just be beaten passively? Jia Yan's avatar's rhetoric was very well organized, and the words he spoke made it impossible for the other party to refute. Jia Yan, I'm not trying to talk to you. In short, if you want to do it yourself, then you have to consider the consequences. You can't have too many clones, and the strong men in our interstellar need to create clones. At a certain price, killing one of your clones is definitely a huge loss, so don't be complacent. Now I will ask my subordinates to force your clone to death. In the future, if you have one less clone, you will be less of a threat to us. Let's see how long you can stay arrogant. This galaxy-level being said that Jia Yan was trying to talk nonsense, but he poured out a bunch of beans like beans. Oh? Kill my clone. I don't know if you have investigated my past achievements. In this starry sky, the most important thing I lack is a clone. So, you can try it and see if it is your star. There are more subordinates at the top, but I still have more clones. Jia Yan looked at the surrounding star peaks. At this time, let alone besieging Jia Yan, they even wanted to escape. You know, although Jia Yan's clones are not the real body, before this, each of them can die together with a galaxy level. In other words, it is not an exaggeration to regard him as a galaxy level. They are just the top of the stars, so coming up here is looking for death. This is no longer a question of courage. Although they are taking orders from the galaxy-level powerhouses, they still have the right to say no to death. And this situation, the galaxy-level also saw it in his eyes. Jia Yan, if you have the ability, come to my side. We will fight for 100 rounds. That galaxy-level actually invited a fight. Jia Yan silently looked at the place where the other party made the sound, and then laughed. My lords, do you think that I, Jia Yan, am a fool? I am pretending to be one person with several galactic levels together, and want to lure me over to be captured or killed by you. How can you deal with me for a star and a half? The level clones really cost a lot of trouble for a few of them. Jia Yan's sarcasm made the other party roar with unwilling anger. Not long after, from the place where the sound came from, 3 incredibly large galaxy-level beings with extremely angry looks flew out. The strength of each of these 3 galaxy-level beings is as high as the sky. Even with the faint coercion emanating from the 3 major galaxy classes, many warships were controlled by them within the scope of this battlefield, unable to move even the slightest bit. But their main target was not the members of Jia Yan's team who were evacuating at the edge of the battlefield, nor the other stellar Orion arm warriors who rushed to the battlefield to prepare for rescue. It is a small, half-star creature that looks very unclear on the surface, and its internal strength only reaches a half-star level. Compared with the opponent, its size is like a small stone on the roadside, and compared with a tall building. But such a small and half-star level made several galaxy-level creatures look solemn on their faces. Because this little creature, in their eyes, is a life and death enemy. Even if the three galaxy-level ones know that such a small man can only take a certain possibility of killing one of them at most, even they, unlike the star-level ones, have a certain ability to avoid it. If they avoid it, such a small man can be killed with just one blow. Finally, the three major galaxy-level beings gathered in front of a clone like Jiayan. Oh, the three elementary creatures of the galaxy, they really think highly of my mere half-star clone. Jiayan suddenly smiled when he saw several galaxy-level powerhouses appearing in front of him. His smile was still extremely determined. Jiayan, although you are a clone, killing you will definitely be a shock to you. Why can you still laugh now? They had long investigated the deeds of Jiayan's clones and knew that Jiayan's clones seemed to be infinite. Therefore, they looked down upon the clone in front of them, because even if they killed him, it would only make Jiayan unable to survive. It doesn't matter if it hurts or not. But this battle is absolutely necessary. Because of the secret of Jiayan's clone, they need a model to use as a research object. More importantly, killing such a clone of Jiayan will make the entire battlefield a little afraid of Jiayan's military morale, which will calm down the military morale. That's why they took action. Guys, I won't tell you whether it was a shock to me that my clone was killed, but do you feel that you missed something? Jiayan's clone showed no fear in the face of the three galaxy-level ones, then shook his head and laughed. What's up? Several large galaxy-level beings suddenly felt a burst of panic. Jiayan has been pretending to be gods and ghosts, but every time he pretends to be gods and ghosts, it is always scary. Now that he said something like this again, they suddenly became a little scared. In fact, what Jiayan said was not unreasonable. Have you forgotten that I just said that I have more than one clone? And not just one or two. I have many clones. So on such an important battlefield, how many clones will I put? Can you guys take a guess? Puff. When Jiayan finished talking about this, one of the several galaxy-level beings confronting Jiayan was so frightened that he almost fell back into the starry sky. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1832. Yes, Jiayan is a person with many clones. Why don't he put more clones in this battlefield? The battlefield here is one of the main battlefields. There must be a problem if Jiayan doesn't put more clones here. Jiayan, don't pretend to be a ghost. Everyone knows that controlling a clone requires energy. Even if you have other clones, you will never be able to control them together. Yes, Jiayan, you are just scaring people. Yes, if we kill one of your clones, it will have an impact on your spirit. Even if you put more clones here, you will never be able to control the clones to fight with us. A group of galaxy-class people found the biggest reason to refute Jiayan's remarks. That's right, no matter which galaxy-level existence it is, the clone is an entity that carries its own spirit. If it is destroyed, it will be a huge harm to the main body. If Jiayan has so many clones, then after his first clone here is killed, whether there will be other energy to control the remaining clones is a matter of two things. In other words, no matter how many clones he has, are no longer valid. This is also the limitation of clones recognized by everyone. When these galaxy-level people mentioned the shortcomings of Jiayan's clone, one of them laughed happily. Jiayan, you want to say that you can use your clones to drown us, right? But now, since you have a clone here, just call it out. It's not like you can't control it at all, so you're bluffing. Yes, Jia Yan, don't talk about things you can't do. Several Zing level people, at this moment, were completely talking to Jia Yan, and they felt it was a bit funny. Jia Yan stood quietly opposite them. At this moment, there was a strange smile in the clone's expression. My lords, if you can't do something, please don't think that others can't do it either. Jia Yan smiled slightly. Then, just as he finished speaking, a creature emerged from the subspace in the starry sky and appeared in front of everyone. Guys, do you think I can't control a few clones? Look, what is this? He smiled, took one step into the subspace, and after a few more jumps, he came to the side of the first clone. And at the same moment he arrived, another smile came. This time it came from a battleship that had not left the battlefield. This Orion Arm battleship is docked near the battlefield and is very conspicuous. It's not that the people inside don't want to leave, but because there is a half-star strong man inside the battleship at this time, who is unwilling to let them escape. But now, the soldiers in these battleships finally know why the half-star commander in the battleship didn't let them leave. Because this half-star powerhouse suddenly spoke up during the galaxy-level conversation on the battlefield. Your Excellencies, if you feel that 2 clones are not enough, then here is another one. He silently stepped out of the battleship, because he instantly entered the subspace and walked out of the subspace instantly, just like passing through a wall, directly passing through the thick wall of the battleship and flying into the universe. Then, step by step, he traveled through the subspace and reached the first and second clones. At the same time, the voices of clones were heard from all directions. There is also one, several sirs here. How many clones do you think I can control? Haha, some of your excellencies are here too. Isn't that surprising? There is still one here. Don't be so quick to think it's gone. Look here. A group of galaxy-level beings were completely stunned. They looked at the approaching semi-star figures in the starry sky, and everyone fell silent. At this moment, they actually felt like Jia Yan was controlling countless clones. In fact, there were 23 clones gathered around him. 23 clones, and Jia Yan didn't seem to feel that he couldn't control it at this moment. The clones formed a team of 3 and 3, becoming a full 7 teams, and then the 2 vacant clones formed a 2-person team. It is said that he can control it, but in fact, it is still a bit difficult for Jia Yan to control so many clones. Even if he has reached the galaxy level now, in terms of mental strength, there is not much difference from the star level back then. But such control ability is already very shocking. My galactic level lords, now, do you think I can only control 1 clone? In an instant, 23 clones said the same sentence at the same time, and the color of the world changed with fear. 1.5 star level strength is not very powerful, but 23.5 star level strength are gathered together, and they all speak in unison, and the energy is almost exactly the same, so the gathered power is a bit overwhelming. The person's demeanor changed. At least that was the case for the galaxy-level existence in front of them. Everyone seemed frightened. You. A galaxy-level person was already frightened and uncomfortable when he summoned the second clone from Jia Yan. But now, 23 appeared in one breath, and these 23 didn't feel too stiff, which made him feel a little retreated. Each of Jia Yan's clones had a chance to kill a galaxy-level creature, but now 23 appeared at once. Although it was obvious that Jia Yan's control had dropped by a level, he still felt a strong sense of control. A strong sense of death. The other 2 galaxy levels also clearly felt their whole heads hurting after seeing so many Jia Yan clones. It is easy to find that the control of each of Jia Yan's clones has declined. But they don't want to believe that the clone at this time will drop to the level of half-star level in combat effectiveness. Just think about it, even if there are 23 clones, Each one's strength has changed from being able to kill a galaxy level at the beginning to 3 being able to kill a galaxy level, then there are 23 here. It is enough to kill 7 galactic level warriors, and there are still some left. Even if Jia Yan has to pay a lot of death of clones, he will definitely make a lot of money from the dead clones and galactic level powerhouses. Let's go. Several galaxy level people quickly retreated. What they received was the light of 2 shocking exploding meteorites. Puff! A shocking force struck through the head of a galaxy level person. Ah! The galaxy level was so frightened that his speed suddenly increased. Their control power has indeed declined, and their accuracy has dropped a lot compared to when they killed several galaxy level enemies some time ago. Seeing this scene, another galaxy level person seemed to be a little surprised. But the next moment, there was a shocking sound, which made the galaxy level shrink his head instantly. How could it be so accurate? This galaxy class was not so lucky. He instantly felt that one of his legs was broken. It turns out that the previous attack was not accurate because Jia Yan was really adjusting. Controlling so many clones would definitely not be that easy. But the next meteorite explosion was because he felt the control method, so he became a little more accurate. Compared with controlling a single clone, the accuracy will be less accurate, but at least by doing this, the clone can be forced to retreat from the 3 major galaxy classes without suffering any losses, and it can also severely damage one of them. This is already an extremely shocking performance. Escape. The 3 galaxy level ones were originally relatively far away from Jia Yan's clones, and then they tried their best to escape, which made them very fast. To be honest, the reason why the previous Jia Yan clone was able to die together with one of them was because several major galactic levels actively attacked and approached quickly. But now that the 3 major galactic levels are escaping, it is not that simple for them to hit accurately. Even if Jia Yan's true body is here, it will not be easy to defeat, let alone the clone. Therefore, in the eyes of the Orion Arm Fleet and the Coalition Fleet soldiers, these 3 guys who were so shocked when they appeared on the battlefield that no one dared to speak loudly on the entire battlefield actually did not dare to look back and look dejected. They all immediately showed shock when they fled. Scared. Run away. Not long after, the first thing to react was the coalition team. Every one of them knows that even the galaxy level bosses have been defeated, so if they stay, they will definitely not be able to win any more battles. Even because Jia Yan's 23 clones are here, they will definitely be defeated. The share of slaughter. Then don't run away. Therefore, the entire shaky fleet began to fall apart, and countless warships began to flee into the distance. But if they escape, will the Orion Arm Fleet, which has already won the battle, agree? There's no way it's good or not. So at this moment, the fleet groups within Orion's arm also began to pursue quickly. The endless starry sky turned into a battleship within Orion's arms, chasing the enemy's battleships, chasing them forward and backward. And to the surprise of many observers, many of the Orion Arms battleships have better performance than the main battleships they used before, and some are even able to defeat one of the coalition forces with 2 ships. You must know that in the past, it took 5 or 6 warships in the Orion Arm to defeat one enemy warship, but now, they have actually achieved 2 battleships that can defeat one enemy warship. This is already a leap. Progress. And this kind of progress can first be attributed to the yin and yang Tao combination trick taught by Jia Yan. This trick also has a wonderful effect when used to control the battleship. Another change is that the fleets within the Orion Arm have purchased many battleships with good performance due to the expansion of trade, so their overall strength has begun to increase. Kill. Bang. Among the stars, there were loud explosions. I don't know how many interstellar powerhouses could only be turned into meat in such an explosion. In fact, even the venerable level creatures will only become cannon fodder in a fleet battle of this level. Only beings of half-star level or above can reach the level that ordinary warships cannot deal with. And because there are many warships in the Orion Arm, what they are good at is joining forces to kill enemies across ranks. Therefore, the enemy's coalition warships began to slowly fall apart. Some escaped, while others were caught up and stayed in this strange land forever. Among the stars and Earth. And not only this battlefield, a similar scene also happened on another distant battlefield. Kill. Haha, the enemy's galaxy level were all scared away by the ancestors' clone group. It's so exciting. A group of galaxy-class people actually escaped from the hands of the strongest man in our Orion Arm. Pursued. This seems like a dream to us. Groups of subordinates reveled in the battleship. The feeling of their fighting is no longer the hard battle before, because the enemy has lost their fighting spirit. Facing such an enemy who has lost their fighting spirit, the huge number of ships of the Orion Arm can kill them in an instant. Many. As a result, the battlefield turned into an army with Orion's arm many times larger than the enemy's. It followed the escaping enemy fleet and slowly devoured most of them. The battlefield here is actually like a replica of the previous battle situation in Luo Longxi's battle area. It also attracted the enemy's galaxy-level powerhouses, and then a group of clones appeared, injuring these powerful men and forcing them to flee. Another battlefield is even more exaggerated. Because Jia Yan made more detailed division changes, the 5 major clones appeared from behind the galaxy-level existence of the enemy's 3rd and 3rd regiments. Their 5 clones joined forces and instantly shot and killed one of the galaxy-class ones. Then another galaxy level killed the 5 clones blocking the escape route in one breath. However, while fighting the 5 clones, he was shot by the terrifying meteorite explosion erupted by the clones before their death, and was seriously injured by a bullet. The other one had already fled in the direction where there were not many clones of Jia Yan when he was initially surrounded. Jia Yan's clone did not think about arresting him, so he slowly chased him and found Shiyuan. 5 of the clones in this area who were originally more than 20 years old actually died. But the results are also brilliant. In addition to killing the Galaxy Level 1 on the spot, the other seriously injured one was also tightly locked by the clones during the escape, and then his head was blown directly by a meteorite explosive. The result of the battle here was to kill 2 Galaxy-level enemies in one go, and the price paid was 5.5 constant breath-level clones. This is huge news everywhere. Regardless of the fact that 5 major clones were used this time to kill 2 major galactic levels, it seems a little worse than the previous 3 major clones who exchanged lives for 3 major galactic levels. But in fact, the outcome of this battle has a completely different meaning. The previous 3 times were done when the enemy was careless and approached actively. But this time it was different. The enemy was not careless. He even wanted to escape and was surrounded by Jia Yan's clones. He had to fight back with all his strength. 5 clones died in exchange for the death of 2 galaxy-level clones. This is an absolutely astounding result. Jia Yan's clone is so scary. Don't fight him. That adult is not willing to take action. There is no way we can win. Escape, leave the coalition forces directly. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1833. As the Galaxy-class people fled one by one, some were injured, while others were too frightened and could hardly help but want to escape from the Orion Arm. But in fact, when they calmed down, they discovered that although each of Jia Yan's clones was very powerful, they were also very scary when combined. But they discovered a flaw in their enemy. That is, the basic data of these clones are not good. Whether the Galaxy class are approaching or escaping, except for using the terrifying subspace means, there is no other effective countermeasure. In fact, in the battle between Galaxy level, if the method is single, then they will be targeted to death. As far away as a deserted planet deep inside the Orion Arm, the Zerg Queen in the castle laughed. This group of galaxy levels is really interesting. Are the current galaxy levels so stupid? They don't even have the ability to find flaws. No wonder the Zerg Queen laughs. The area she is in is closer to the center of the galaxy, so the general combat effectiveness of the strong is much stronger than the combat effectiveness here. Even the galaxy level is no exception. The galaxy class here is so ridiculous, no wonder she laughs. Of course, the galaxy level is still the galaxy level. Even if the galaxy level here is weak, it will not be too weak. What's more, among the galaxy level of the coalition, there are also strong galaxy level people from areas very close to the Zerg Queen. Although this strong man is not considered a strong one in the galaxy class locally, he is also a galaxy class over there. Such galaxy class was killed by Jia Yan, which shows that Jia Yan's clone is indeed of a certain level. But you are indeed powerful. You actually have such a method. The clones are deeper than what I have studied, and your mental power is also somewhat different from other strong people. It's just that you use too many ordinary clones. The future clones there will be less and less help, so you should learn from me and work harder to research galaxy level clones. The Zerg Queen's vision was so sophisticated that she quickly saw the battle plan used by Jia Yan's clone, as well as the key points that made Jia Yan's mental power greater than other strong men. I will. Getting advice from the Queen of the Zerg was a condition for Jia Yan to agree to join her alliance. Since he has not joined yet, but the other party gave Jia Yan advice, Jia Yan accepted it happily and was not in a bad mood. After all, this Queen of the Zerg is astonishingly powerful. Perhaps even to her now, the galactic level battles between Jia Yan and the others are like children playing house, with everything under her observation and control. Well, your current method of dealing with these strong men is already a bit eccentric to me, so if I teach you in the future, I will try my best to teach you to use regular combat power. After all, you are always doing these things. No, it's not what a strong man should do. What's more, you already had some signs of this back then. It was because you always walked that way that I decided to give up observing you. But I didn't expect that today I arrived at the Milky Way level. You still do this. You have to know that if you want to move towards a high-level galaxy-level existence, the route must be clear, and there should be fewer eccentricities. The Zerg Queen smiled to herself, then turned to Jia Yan and said this seriously. Jia Yan thought deeply, then nodded, I understand. At this moment, even Jia Yan has a different idea, but in fact the other party is not wrong. He has always been strong and combative, and the opponent has always taken the wrong approach, and although it is said that it is often effective, and the results are not low. However, in fact, many times it was due to luck and various factors, which led to Jia Yan's various chaotic fighting methods and achieved results. If it were an ordinary strong man, or a person with bad luck, then he would definitely die. Therefore, Jia Yan decided that in the future, he would mainly focus on strengthening his own physical strength. But you can't listen to everything. Others' paths are other people's paths, and your own path is your own path. What's more, the cultivation law he possesses is yin and yang dao. Unlike ordinary strong men, the main battle of yin and yang dao is on this path. The means are front and back explosions, etc. Isn't this kind of ultra-high-intensity combat power what the clone is using? Therefore, Jia Yan will not listen to the queen completely, listen to half and keep half, but he will not argue with her face to face, because Jia Yan still has to rely on her help. It's just that everyone's paths are different. You should be careful in the future. She laughed at her. Even if there is any special guidance, I have to take a good look at my fighting philosophy. If what she said is wrong, I can't believe it. Although Jia Yan knew that the Zerg Queen was a senior and even a great support for him in the future, he did not blindly believe in her. The cooperative relationship with the other party was by no means a relationship between a leader and a subordinate, so Jia Yan he decided that his own strength was probably a little different from that of the other party, But this did not mean that Jia Yan had to completely regard himself as a weakling, and that he had to believe in the other party's words, and then he even listened to the other party's words for such things as cultivation. Conduct. This is a bit contrary to Jia Yan's long-standing moral principles. The words were divided into two parts. On one side, Jia Yan was having a conversation with the Queen of the Zerg. On the other side, groups of clones were showing their power at this moment, driving away the enemies one by one and defeating them. Long live my ancestor! Awesome, my ancestor is so powerful. The ancestor is invincible. Jia Yan enjoyed the crazy cheers from countless Orion Arm Fleet soldiers. But Jia Yan himself was not too happy. If these guys are scared, it's best to run away like this. I hope they don't gather together again when they feel the disadvantage of the clones. Then the next battle will be a bit difficult. Jia Yan's clones were closely observing the enemy's movements. Each clone entered the original battleship, where they received countless welcomes. Some even cried bitterly, feeling that the ancestor was blessing them. But Jia Yan's clones are not more friendly with them, because he really doesn't have much energy. After controlling so many clones, his own strength has dropped significantly. Then he put most of the clones into a state of slumber, and used some of them to closely observe the coalition fleets that were defeated in the first wave of battles. As expected, after the first wave of major defeats, although there were huge personnel changes in the coalition forces, especially the injured fleets of the Galaxy class, they all withdrew their troops behind them, and even had some intention of leaving. That's it. The injured Galaxy class was either seriously injured and was not prepared to turn his fleet into cannon fodder, or he had given up the idea of continuing to deal with Jia Yan. After all, they were all injured and had no confidence to negotiate. But their battleships were still left behind, probably because other Galaxy-class ships were intimidating and luring them. So specifically, although the combat effectiveness of these Galaxy classes themselves has been lost, the strength of the fleet underneath has not suffered much, and those injured Galaxy-class battleship fleets will be regarded as being driven to death in the future. Cannon fodder, this is not a good thing for the Orion Arm. Are you actually suppressed? Jia Yan was a little disappointed. He originally planned to use the results of this battle to make several major Galaxy-level beings leave. Unfortunately, although they were unable to fight, their fleets did not leave at all. There are signs, which makes Jia Yan's results not so exaggerated. Especially my clone has too many shortcomings. They were just scared just now. When they look back and think about it carefully, they will understand that there is definitely a way to crack the combat power and combat effect of my clone. In that case, it will be even more difficult to fight. Jia Yan also has another worry, that is, the powerful mid-level star in the galaxy has still not appeared on the battlefield. For him, this is the absolute most worrying existence. The battle is still going on, but when Jia Yan's clone appears, the enemy steps back again. On some local battlefields, the Orion Arm fleet even appears, chasing the coalition army all the way, deep into the starry sky. And go to the picture. This kind of picture, from a simple judgment, can be said to be a big victory. Although Jia Yan himself and many Orion Arm commanders do not think it is an absolute victory, this does not prevent the Orion Arm soldiers below and the entire Orion Arm people from regarding this victory as a victory. It was a decisive big victory. The entire Orion Arm fleet, as well as the ordinary people in the Orion Arm, are all rejoicing on this day. Especially the people on the Earth, who all think that the Master Mosquito who walked out of their own planet has shown his face again, and feel extremely overwhelmed. Pride. Although Mr. Mosquito Ancestor has never said that he is a strong man who emerged from the Earth, especially he has never admitted it personally, he stayed in the Orion Arm because of the Earth and helped the beings in the Orion Arm. But both the people on Earth and the people within the entire Orion Arm have regarded Jia Yan as a strong man who has emerged from the Earth. Some people even compare Jia Yan to the small life form mosquito that exists on the Earth. Thinking about it together, especially those who know Jia Yan's past, they all feel that Jia Yan is probably the Earth's native life form, the Mosquito, a terrifying starry sky beast that evolved. Otherwise, why would he care so much about the Earth and protect it every time? Of course, these are all speculations. Although the people on Earth take it seriously, there is also a group of Orion armed people on the internet who start a big fight with the internet users of the Earth people, saying that the people on the Earth think that everything belongs to the Earth people, even giant mosquitoes. The ancestors are all from the Earth, which means that the universe is all from the Earth. Although the people on Earth have always denied these accusations, because the population of Earth people in the entire Orion arm is actually only a very small minority, certain discrimination against people on Earth has never been isolated. So people on Earth have become very closed-minded, at least in Jia Yan's eyes. Okay, let's go down and meet my family. In the starry sky, a super-fast ship arrived near the Earth. The entire Orion arm can be said to be a forbidden and ultra-high consumption area. It is absolutely impossible for ordinary fleets to enter the Earth's atmosphere because there are strict protection clauses on the Earth. All warships and ordinary civilian spacecraft are not allowed to enter the Earth's atmosphere. May fall to the Earth. But the battleship still came to the Earth, and as soon as the Earth side found out about Chi's name, they immediately didn't dare to say anything anymore and just let it go. Puff. And this battleship is heading towards the Forbidden Land among the forbidden places on the Earth, which is the return city where the Geo family is located. It was a city built when the giant Mosquito clan returned to the Earth and solved the great crisis on the Earth. This city is now considered an extremely prosperous Guan city on Earth, and the most eye-catching thing in the city is the Earthling Castle standing in the center of the city. The castle is called a castle, but it is actually just a very ordinary building complex, and it is a circle of buildings around it, a civilian-like building complex surrounding the central point. These buildings are exactly the Geo family, which has an extraordinary status on Earth and is already the representative of the strongest family even in the Orion arm. The Geo family is now different from the Geo family of the past. Its magnificence can no longer be described. At least in this interstellar era, magnificent things are easy to come by, but the Geo family does not have that much luxury. It only has a bit of historical background and a very simple layout and furnishings at first glance. This battleship flew into the Geo family's castle, causing countless people below to scream in surprise. However, some people know whose battleship this is. Many people directly point out that this battleship is the vehicle of Jiarong, who has the most unique status in the Geo family and seems to have combat capability. Jiarong, if anyone knows this name, they will definitely stay silent, because he is the mysterious Jia Yan of the Geo family, the only possible clear heir in this world, that is, his biological son. This Jia Yan, many people are spreading rumors that his true identity may be the giant Mosquito ancestor himself, so Jiarong's status and identity make others feel faintly shocked. Today, when Jia Yan's clone was showing off his power, Jiarong drove his own battleship, leaving behind many of the fleet's arduous tasks and returned to Earth. The Geo family seemed to already understand the situation and were not too surprised. But now, they are all gathered in the Geo family's building complex. The oldest of the Geo family is the ordinary two-story small foreign-style building where Jia's parents live. There have been rumors for a long time that Jiarong's mother Satsuma Shrine, who left the Geo family and returned to her mother's civilization, has now returned to the Earth. The family is neatly sitting on the sofa, raising their heads from time to time and waiting. Here we come, this boy really dares to bring him back. Whatever you say, just bring him back. He is already at this age, so we don't have to worry about him. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website.